I'm soaking through and through. And then you handed me a towel, and all I see is you. And even if my house falls down now, I wouldn't have a clue, because you're near me. And I want to thank you for giving me the best day of my life. And just to be with you is having the best day of my life. And I want to thank you.
This is Nationwide 90 FM, owned and operated by Nationwide News Network. We broadcast from our studios at 6 Bradley Avenue, Kingston 10, Jamaica. Transmitting on the FM 90 band. 90.3 from Peters Rock in St. Andrew and Murphy Hill in St. Anne. Serving Kingston and St. Andrew, St. Catherine, St. Anne, parts of Clarendon, St. Mary, and St. Thomas. 90.5 from Huntley in Manchester, transmitting to St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Manchester, Clarendon, rural St. Andrew, and parts of St. Thomas. And 90.7 from Cooper's Hill in St. Andrew and Flower Hill in St. James, serving Westmoreland, Hanover, St. James, sections of Trelawney, Kingston, St. Catherine, Clarendon, St. Mary, Portland, and St. Anne. Nationwide 90 FM also broadcasts on the World Wide Web on nationwideradiojm.com and on Flow on channel 916. Nationwide 90 FM, a revolution in media. You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
6 o'clock.
From the studios of Nationwide Radio, morning radio the right way. It's Nationwide This Morning.
A very good morning to you. I'm Tona Thomas. Coming up in the news at 6 for this morning, Tuesday, August 20, 2024. Finance Minister refutes JPS's claim that it knew post-burial electricity bills would be increased. JPS says increased bills are the result of higher fuel costs. And the Energy Minister gives JPS September 6 deadline to provide detailed explanation of post-burial electricity bill hike. In regional news, Antigua Prime Minister sends message to criminals who threaten the police. In international news, Blinken in Egypt seeking progress towards a ceasefire Gaza deal. In sports, Jamaica's under-14 boys football team makes it to the semi-finals of the CFU Challenge Series. And in business, British tech tycoon Michael Lynch and his daughter are among 6 people missing after a luxury yacht sank off the Italian coast. The details after the break.
At Design Privacy, we value relationships. Join our exclusive open DPO community and interact with privacy professionals. Share ideas, insightful challenges, and build career-boosting connections with expert advice at your fingertips. Get access to specialized tools, exclusive workshops, and case studies. Enjoy unparalleled networking. Join Design Privacy's open DPO community to expand your expertise and excel in your career. Visit opendpocommunity.com today and take your data privacy skills to the next level.
Catch the first news of the day. A comprehensive package of local, international, sports, and business news. The news at 6 on Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark is rejecting as inaccurate a claim from the JPS that his ministry was informed beforehand that customers would see higher light bills for the July to August billing cycle. The claim was made on Monday evening on Nationwide at 5 by the Director of Corporate Communications at JPS, Winsome Callum.
But
You said
I
you
do
told key
believe-
stakeholders, though, Miss Callum. The
that
OUR
the
must be
government-
surely
I know
a
that the
top
government- I know that
stakeholder.
the government was advised, just because of the specific issues there with regards to the significantly higher cost of the ADO. But I wouldn't want to say without seeing the communication that the OUR had been advised. I think so, but I'd have to double check.
So who are
that
the
one.
key stakeholders who were advised?
The primary stakeholder that I'm speaking of is the government, the principals in the government who would have gotten this information.
You told the energy minister that you were going to have increased bills in August.
I know that the Minister of Finance would have been aware of it.
And your energy minister?
That, again, I'd have to check.
But in a lengthy thread on X on Monday evening, Minister Clark refuted the claim. He published multiple letters detailing communication between JPS and his office in early July, in which the utility provider requested a waiver of the taxes on automotive diesel fuel or application of the concessionary rate of $4.56 per litre. The normal rate is $44.90 per litre. The letters show that the ministry consented to the concessionary rate. There is no reference to impending increases in bill amounts. Dr. Clark says the JPS's statements are misleading, distorted, and incomplete.
This is most unfortunate. I can only imagine that it is either an unintentional error or a deliberate attempt to divert attention away from the inability of the JPS to restore normality to the Jamaican consumer. Whatever the motivation, in light of this misinformation and in the interest of transparency on this issue of understandable concern to Jamaicans, I've decided to release the communication between JPS and the Ministry of Finance on this matter.
The minister says the misinformation is unacceptable.
Consistent with the advocacy and posture of the Minister of Science, Energy and Technology, the Honorable Darrell Vaz, on this matter, I urge the JPS to focus on the technical matters under their control and urgently restore normalcy to the Jamaican consumer. The government of Jamaica will not give distortionary or diversionary tactics the space to prevail.
Dr. Nigel Clark, Minister of Finance. Meanwhile, the Director of Corporate Communications at the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, Winsome Callum, says the massive rise in electricity bills for the August period is primarily driven by an increase in fuel charges. Ms. Callum appeared on Nationwide at 5 on Monday to respond to the wave of backlash from customers reacting to the increase in their latest light bills. As we hear in this report from Mahiri Stewart, JPS customers were not told to brace for an increase.
According to Winsome Callum, JPS had to transition from using liquefied natural gas, LNG, to automotive diesel oil, ADO, before Hurricane Beryl impacted sections of the country on July 3. The JPS Director of Corporate Communications says the fuel switch resulted in a more than 30% increase in charges.
The JPS does not set its own rate. The energy charge on electricity bill, that is set by the OUR, and that can only be changed by the OUR. The other component of the bill is made up of what we call variable charges, charges that will change from 1 month to the next. And the biggest charge that changes from 1 month to the next is the fuel charge. So the primary driver of the increase in electricity bills for this month is the increase in the fuel charge. The fuel charge has moved from $24.33 per kilowatt hour on the July bill to $32.17 per kilowatt hour on the August bill.
Ms. Callum says JPS had to use a more expensive fuel, ADO, to generate electricity for approximately 1 week in July.
We had to switch, meaning the power plants that use LNG, natural gas, had to switch to the more expensive ADO just before Hurricane Beryl hit. The automotive diesel oil, that's ADO, is the more expensive fuel. In fact, it is more than twice the cost of the LNG. Just before the hurricane hit Jamaica, the suppliers of LNG had to take the gas facility offline to protect it from damage during the storm. In total, I believe we were on ADO for about a week because of the unavailability of LNG.
Ms. Callum admits that the excessive increase in electricity bills is, quote, really unfortunate, end quote, especially at a time when customers are still struggling to recover from Hurricane Beryl. She also concedes that there could have been improved communication from JPS regarding the increase in electricity bills. However, Ms. Callum maintains the specific amount in charges was not known by the company in advance.
It would have been good to have alerted our customers early. What really happened is that we would not have known the exact value of the fuel charge that would have been passed on to the customer until at the end of the month before the billing period started last week. We did advise some key stakeholders in this regard because we figured that it would have affected our customers.
But one of those key stakeholders was not the customer.
I know what you're saying, and I totally agree with you that giving our customers the heads up, even if we didn't have the specific number or the specific figure of what the fuel charge would have been, giving our customers the heads up would have been useful.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
And the Energy Minister Darrell Vaz has written to the JPS demanding a detailed explanation of the reason for the spike in electricity bills sent to customers for the July to August cycle. These bills are due for payment in September. In a letter to President and CEO of JPS Hugh Grant sent on Monday afternoon, Minister Vaz said his ministry had been flooded with complaints from customers raging at the exorbitant bills they were being asked to pay by the Light and Power Company. He gave the example of a community center in St. Elizabeth, which, despite not having power since before the passage of Hurricane Beryl, was hit with a bill for about $70,000. Minister Vaz wrote that in the spirit of transparency, JPS ought to give details about how it calculated these latest bills at a time when many customers did not have power for parts of the billing cycle. Vaz has given the JPS until September 6, 18 days from the date of his letter, to submit the information. And PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell says small farmers have been particularly hard hit by the government's failure to hold JPS to account for the slow process of power restoration to customers.
You have people that are small farmers that have chicken and they reach 6 weeks and they can't kill the chicken because they're not in a refrigerator to put it in. The chicken that got big, reach out 10 pounds. Wants to be road. And you can't kill the chicken because you don't have nowhere to put the chicken and refrigerate it. You have people that their livelihood has been affected. Did you know that 30% of the chicken that you consume in this country is produced by small farmers? 30%.
The PNP General Secretary says the government has left many Jamaicans suffering.
These are people who buy them chicken and raise it to sell it in August so that they can send back them picnic at school. Because so we juggle the thing. In August and in December, most chicken the people when small farmers sell because they plan for Christmas and they plan for back to school. And this government with them uncaring self has not done enough to ensure that the people can have electricity restored.
Dr. Dayton Campbell, General Secretary of the People's National Party. He was speaking at the party's Northwest Manchester Constituency Conference over the weekend. In other news now, a session of the 60th Annual Conference of the Jamaica Teachers Association, JTA, now underway in Trelawney, descended into a clash of words on Monday over the lawsuit brought against the body by immediate past President LaSonia Harrison. Current President Lyndon Johnson was verbally assailed from all sides when he attempted to address the matter at the afternoon session of day one. Ms. Harrison is attempting to quash the JTA's current 3-year wage agreement with the government. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
Immediate past president of the JTA, LaSonia Harrison, contends in her lawsuit that the virtual special delegates vote held in March last year to accept the wage offer presented by the Ministry of Finance was in breach of the association's constitution. The current president, Lyndon Johnson, confirmed the suit to his membership gathered at the Princess Grand Hotel in Negril, Westmoreland on Monday for the start of the JTA's 60th annual conference. He stated that the teachers' union has hired King's Counsel Caroline Hay to mount a vigorous defense. But Mr. Johnson expressed concern over the implications for the organization to be sued by one of its members.
Based on advice that we have received, ladies and gentlemen, we indicate that this is a matter for us to defend. This must be done for us in terms of the outcome of this. This is something that needs to be treated with in due course. We will further address this issue. It would be remiss of me if I were not to say that we as an executive of the association are quite concerned with the actions where members sue the JTA and force us to choose to bring such actions against the association, forcing us to expend funds from the association to defend.
The JTA president was pressed on the appropriateness of his utterances about the lawsuit. When he attempted to defend his comments, he was interrupted by JTA President-elect Mark Malaba, who accused him of attempting to color the matter.
And on the basis that this is a matter that has been referred to and asked.
On a point of order, if it is that someone has brought a legal matter with respect to this, there is no need to seek to color it in the way that it is being colored, Mr. President, because the matter is properly placed within the courts. Let the courts decide on this matter. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Johnson, in response, accused Mr. Malaba of trying to mislead the gathering. This sparked another clash of words between the two.
The legal opinions as we saw from our attorneys, that is what we are presenting an update at this time.
Mr. President, with the greatest of respect, Mr. President, you are not presenting the legal opinion. You are presenting...
Mr. Malava, I did not act, Mr. Malava.
Opinion, Mr. President.
I am not presenting something. You are misleading the conference.
Mr. President.
You are misleading the conference.
Mr. President, I am standing here as a legitimate member of the union. And I'm saying, Mr. President, that with respect, you are not presenting the legal opinion, you are presenting your own opinion on this matter.
Mr. Johnson called for his comments to be struck from the record, but this resulted in a loud chant of no from teachers.
That must be stricken from the record. The member is out of order because, again, he is misleading the conference. He is misleading the conference.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
And that's it for the local segment of the news. Up next, regional and international.
Music users, a license from JCAP is a must for the use of music for entertainment purposes. Respect the music, respect the creators, play by the rules. The time by Jamaica Association of Composers, Authors and Publishers Limited is
6:16.
Outperform, outlast. With top performance. Jackama. Reliable, full stop, not comma. We have the expertise for drilling and demolition. We have the power tools for plumbers and electrician. Fancy select tools, 3 parts and 3 repairs. 3 parts, 3 repairs. 2 to 3 years. Hilton, available at Delta Supply, 106 Hagley Park Road. Call us at 876-302-6111-4. Delta Supply, we service what we sell.
In regional and international news this morning, regional news, the Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, says the police will defend themselves when confronted by criminals who are intent on using lethal force. He made the comment in the aftermath of an incident last week in which a man was killed and 2 others left injured, one of them critically, following a shootout between police and alleged armed robbers. According to the Prime Minister, while he is not condoning the use of excessive force, lawmen must protect themselves and the state. International, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken flew to Egypt on Tuesday, pushing for areas of possible progress on a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal in talks planned for later this week with major areas of dispute left unresolved. Blinken arrived in Egypt from Tel Aviv, where he said Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had accepted a U.S. bridging proposal aimed at narrowing the gaps between the two sides. This after talks last week paused without a breakthrough. Blinken urged Hamas to also accept the proposal as the basis for more talks. The Palestinian militant group has not definitively rejected the proposal, but has said it backtracks from areas previously agreed and has accused Israel and its U.S. ally of handling the negotiations process in bad faith. And that's it for regional and international. Up next, sports.
As a part of our efforts to increase accessibility to higher education, the Students' Loan Bureau no longer requires applicants to have guarantors. This applies to all SLB loan products. No guarantors, no catch. With SLB, you can make your dreams a reality. Visit our website at slbja.com and follow us on social media at Students' Loan Bureau to be in the loop. Apply today.
Eliminate the hassle of managing multiple medications that can be confusing. Thanks to Houghton's Pharmacy. Introducing RX Pack, a mobile app available in the App Store and Google Play Store. RX Pack is specially designed for you to order and manage your medications. Download today for free. That's RX Pack for better medication management. Call 876-RX-0-RX-RX or visit our website, HoughtonsRx.com for more details.
It is the 10th annual Good Samaritan 5K Health Run Walk. This year, our main beneficiaries are the children of the Community-Based Rehabilitation Jamaica, CBRJ. On Sunday, August the 25th at 6:30 a.m., we run, walk, and wheel to raise funds for children with disabilities. The GS 5K over the years has raised funds for various charitable organizations and assisted with community projects, health initiatives, and back-to-school support. For our 10th anniversary, we invite you to register for this 5K and give hope to the children with disabilities. To register, you can visit my.raceresult.com or scan the QR code. The GS 10th Anniversary 5K, Sunday, the 25th of August. Race starts at 6:30 a.m., warm up at 6 a.m. on the grounds of the Andrews Memorial Seventh-day Adventist Church. The GS 5K, 10 years of helping. Help us, help more.
In your morning sports report, Jamaica's under-14 reggae boys are through to the semi-finals of the CFU Challenge Series after beating hosts Trinidad and Tobago 2-0 in their top-of-the-table Group A clash on Monday night. Davian Clark and Carlando Morris got the goals for Jamaica, who won the group with a maximum 9 points from their 3 group games. Jamaica had earlier victories over St. Kitts and Nevis and Aruba. Former champions Leicester City marked their return to the English Premier League on Monday with a come-from-behind 1-1 draw with Tottenham Hotspur at the King Power Stadium. Pedro Porro snuck in to head Spurs in front on 29 minutes, but the veteran Jamie Vardy popped up in the 57th minute with a headed goal of his own to give the Foxes a share of the points. Over in the Italia Serie A, Juventus beat Como 3-0 and Atalanta stopped Lecce 4-0. Cricket's world governing body, the ICC, is meeting today to discuss the possibility of moving this year's T20 Women's World Cup from Bangladesh to an alternative venue due to ongoing anti-government protests and political instability. The 9th staging of the tournament is set for October 3 to 20, with the West Indies scheduled to face South Africa in their opening game on October 5. However, there are uncertainties over the staging, and Cricket West Indies boss Dr. Kishore Shallow says other venues are being looked at.
In that meeting, I expect discussion to be around whether we keep the tournament, the World Cup in Bangladesh, or we relocate. A few options have already been tabled as potential if we need to relocate the tournament, but that decision will be made at the meeting tomorrow.
Dr. Shallow says broadcasting rights will play a major role in where the tournament may be played.
There are lots of different factors in Bangladesh. I suspect that the partnership with the broadcast company and so on would want to consider time zone. And so the preference may go, or there may be, that certainly will be a contributing factor, major contributing factor in terms of, if relocated, where the tournament will be played. So I think it's just a matter of waiting for another 24 hours or so after our discussion tomorrow at ICC meeting. And we should be in a better place where we can provide some clarity on the matter. But as of this point, the ICC is just yet to make a decision.
Dr. Kishore Shallow. Finally, in your morning sports, Arnya Sabalenka won her first title since January's Australian Open by powering past Jessica Pegula in the final of the Cincinnati Open yesterday. The Belarusian needed 76 minutes to wrap up a 6-3, 7-5 victory for the 15th title of her career and her 6th at WTA 1000 level. The result ended a 9-match winning streak for American Pegula, who defended her Canadian Open title last week. Sabalenka, who will replace Coco Gauff as the new world number 2, cruised through the first set after getting the break in the fourth game. She suffered a slight blip when serving for the title at 5-4 in the second set. At 6th seed, Pegula broke back to level. But the two-time Grand Slam champion recovered, striking again before and serving out the win and blowing kisses to the crowd in celebration. That's it for your morning sports.
The University of the Commonwealth Caribbean Recruitment Roadshow. Fast and easy registration. Informative sessions. One-on-one guidance. Join us on August 14, Ocho Rios. August 15, Maypen. August 16, Mandeville. August 21, Negril. August 22, Montego Bay. And our last stop, August 23, Halfway Tree. 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. each stop. UCC Recruitment Roadshow. Empower your dreams. Register today. UCC. Fostering leadership and innovation.
In business this morning, British tech tycoon Michael Lynch and his 18-year-old daughter are among the 6 people missing after a luxury yacht sank off the coast of the Italian island of Sicily in the early hours of Monday morning. The 183-foot vessel was carrying 22 people, including British, American, and Canadian nationals. 15 people were rescued, including a 1-year-old British girl, and authorities are continuing their search into the night. Local media report the yacht named Bayesian capsized after encountering a heavy storm overnight that caused waterspouts or rotating columns of air to appear over the sea. Lynch, known by some as the British Bill Gates, co-founded software company Autonomy, which was later bought by tech giant Hewlett-Packard for $11 billion. Now, 36 flights were cancelled and 200 delayed at a Japanese airport on the weekend after a pair of scissors went missing in a store near the boarding gates. Security checks at Hokkaido's New Chitose Airport domestic terminal were suspended for about 2 hours on Saturday morning, leaving hundreds of travelers temporarily stranded. There were huge bottlenecks and queues as passengers in the departure lounge were forced to retake security checks. Authorities tried to locate the missing scissors, which were found at the same store the following day. Although the scissors weren't located on Saturday, the day they went missing, security checks and flights eventually resumed that day. Finally, now in foreign exchange trading this morning, the Jamaican dollar has gained 28 cents and will open trading today, selling for an average $157.98 against the benchmark U.S. dollar. The Jamaican dollar has lost 89 cents and will open trading this morning, selling for an average $116.24 against the Canadian. And finally, the Jamaican has gained $1.25 and will open trading today, selling for an average $201.63 against the British pound. That's it for business this morning.
It's This Morning on Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
6:30.
Me, busy as usual, so I don't have no time for whole heap of paperwork. That's why I downloaded and signed up for my One JN Passport app. It's a whole new level of convenience and access to services within the JN Financial Group. Just a few taps on my smartphone and box. I can update my personal information, open a JN Bank savings account, and even apply for an unsecured loan. Get it all in one go. Download and sign up now. The One JN Passport app. JN will help you find a way.
Just touch down on the island. Popeye's wings and style. Roll up in the venue. Brand new thing on the menu. Ring the alarm for the ghost pepper. Nice. On the barbecue and the sweet and spicy. Ring the alarm, flavor them take off. Yo, Popeye's wings are the right breed. See them so we do. Popeye's wings touchdown in Jamaica. Bag of flavors. Brand new thing on the menu. Roll up in the venue. Tell them a style of send you. Love that chicken from Popeye.
The following hurricane tip is brought to you by Isratech Jamaica Limited. In the event of a hurricane, ensure that your solar water heater full of water is secured. Use hurricane-safe straps to secure the tank, stand, and panel. Cover the glass on the panel with a sheet of plywood to protect it from flying debris. The preceding hurricane tip was brought to you by Isratech Jamaica Limited. Telephone 876-754-5443.
without a care in the world. You know me.
No worry for my head top, not at all.
And if you know me, you know say I know.
No what?
Put no trouble on my back.
Oh.
No. Oh, no worry about that. Jaja rise me out of my bed. I mean, go river and go wash my dread. Me alright, alright.
Tell you my alright.
And me say Jaja sunrise wake me up this morning, and I can hear Mama Africa calling. Alright, alright. I tell you me alright, yeah.
I got to give the most high praise. From me see the lid them pan both eyes raised. Breathing the breath of life, so I pray to still I see I for watch over those like we.
Yeah.
Smile with the rising sun. The creation me never hiding from. No negativity up in our high kingdom. Mama Africa, your child so come.
I said Jaja rise me out of my bed. I mean, go river and go wash my dread. Me alright, alright.
No, no, no.
I said Jaja sunrise wake me up this morning, and I can hear Mama Africa calling. Alright, alright. I tell you me alright, yeah.
What a sweet summer day. Mother Earth, you I am free from a day. Me chew some carrot and beet and eat a jelly. Then dip in the river cause me feel figure bed.
I wash off the crosses off of me. Sweet life King Selassie off of me. Never be ungrateful, no people go sleep and they never wake up. But Jaja rise me out of my bed. I mean, go river and go wash my dread. Me alright, alright. I said Jaja sunrise wake me up this morning, and I can hear Mama Africa calling. Alright, alright. I tell you me alright, yeah.
Breeze a blow and my vibes just a bill. Anytime I see the sunlight I climb up the hill. Now I'm no work so I time for me chill. Some whole a meditation and try to be still. Visions of Mama Africa I float by. Even though you're far I feel you're close by. The mysteries of life I seek to know why. Hailing the most
rise me out of my bed. I mean, go river and go wash my dread. Me alright, alright. I said Jaja sunrise wake me up this morning, and I can hear Mama Africa calling. Alright, alright. I tell you me alright, yeah. I say me alright. Kabaka pyramid,
Good morning to you. Good morning to you. It is a beautiful morning here in Kingston City, Jamaica. You're tuned in to Nationwide this morning. NTM, the big show. Thank you so much for coming on over and joining us in this space. This space meaning Nationwide 90 FM live or YouTube channel. Thank you so much for coming on over. And hello to all our peeps out there in Radio Land joining us on the 90 FM band, 90.3, 0.5, 0.7, and if you're joining us from the app, or if you're joining us from the website, hello to you as well. Good morning to you. Very happy to have all of our listeners and our viewers this Tuesday morning, Tuesday, August 20, 2024. I'm Tona Thomas.
Good morning, Tona. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, viewers. My name is George.
Hey to you, George.
Yeah, man.
How are you?
Jorge is good. Very, very good.
Wonderful. I see you, Donnet Williams, Ines Campbell, Sharon Kong, Patrick Dunbar, Rider 40, who's saying good morning to George. Good morning to you, Rider 40.
Mm-hmm.
And Linda Ming, is this Janesta Johnson? Hey to ya. Hey as well to Shane Scott, Merlene Fid, all of you who are in the YouTube chat. You mark your attendance every morning, or we're marking your attendance. Good morning to you. Happy to have you. Yeah, so right into it, George. On my mind this morning,
Can only be one thing.
Yeah, is what is on a lot of people's minds. The Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS. So, George, JPS was on Nationwide at 5 yesterday, and I fear that the accounts given by JPS during that interview session yesterday did not help to improve consumer confidence and calm the many customers who are quite vexed at the sums they've been seeing on their light bills. I believe aspects of that account as well has instead acted like salt in a fresh wound, unfortunately. Folks seeing elevated bills, they naturally wanted to know why. What resulted in my light bill being so high? The account provided yesterday detailed that it was a matter of how much the light and power company had to pay for a more expensive oil it was using for a week. This week involved about 48 hours before the passage of Hurricane Beryl and some days after, which in total amounted to 7 days in July, so July 1 to 7. The company says it used automotive diesel oil, ADO, instead of liquefied natural gas, LNG. Why ADO? They had to take the LNG facility offline to protect it. This 7-day use resulted in an approximately 30% increase in the fuel charge passed on to customers. It moved from $24 per kilowatt hour to $32 for the billing cycle. And JPS says this is the reason behind the bills ballooning for a lot of customers. Though that explanation has been provided, there's still need for JPS to assess people's bills that were way above what it should be for a billing cycle, even if they should use this math in relation to fuel charge and all that. This is because the usage doesn't add up during a time when many of the customers, George, were out of power for a period. So there's more to that. But the salt dose 1 in the fresh wound, I believe, was how JPS has dealt with customers on this matter. Certainly, JPS has given, I'd say, a fairly good showing of themselves in communicating through traditional media and on social media pre and post burial. We saw all of their very nice flyers. They were sending out a lot of tweets. They were all over Instagram, and from time to time made themselves available here on Nationwide and elsewhere to communicate to customers. Fine. So it was surprising yesterday when the revelation was made that the company is saying that it knew from early on that it had transitioned for a week to the expensive ADO that would result, it is saying, in an increase in our electricity bills. But the biggest stakeholder, the customers, were never given a heads up. We weren't told anything at all, even in the initial stages of this. You're saying you knew the cost would pass on to us in our July bills and didn't tell us or give us any sort of indicator that this was coming. I don't accept the explanation that the company did not initially know how much it was going to be. I think the decent thing to have done is to provide your customers with an initial advisory, alerting them to this. I mean, you alerted us to estimated bills. You alerted us to challenges to restore light, even though sometimes we had to be nudging so much to get that information. You alerted us to deadline extensions, but no alert that the bills were going to be increased. The reasonable approach was to say something. George, I think the company continues to lose, I'd say, brownie points for the way it treats communication, sometimes on important matters. I said it last week as well when I spoke about how customers are treated when they reach out to the company's helplines. Transparency is important and even more crucial in critical times like these. Now, overnight, the matter has taken on even more legs. Because the matter of who knew and when has not gone down well with at least one minister who was described as a key stakeholder by JPS, who they're saying was informed early about the possible increase. Yesterday, the account given was that the finance minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, was told early about the fuel expense and the cost being passed on to customers. Dr. Clark is saying that is not so. And he gave quite the account, detailed, issuing out or sharing with Jamaicans the communication between JPS and the ministry in a thread on X last evening. He said, "It has been brought to my attention that the communications director of JPS," he says, "misled the Jamaican people on Nationwide during that interview by providing at best," Dr. Clark says, "a distorted and incomplete picture of communications in July between the power company and his ministry." He describes it as most unfortunate. Dr. Clark says, "I can only imagine that it is either an unintentional error, or a deliberate attempt to divert attention away from the inability of JPS to restore normality to the Jamaican consumer." As I said, he released written communication that did not speak to JPS, informing him about it applying an increase to the bills. He said they wrote about the liquefied natural gas, LNG, floating storage and regasification unit, FSRU, that supplies LNG to South Jamaica Power's Old Harbour Power Station, that had to be relocated for safety reasons ahead of Hurricane Beryl's arrival. This, he says, meant that this dual power station that relied on LNG as the primary fuel source, which would have to be temporarily resort to the alternative of ADO, which is more expensive. He says the JPS wrote him to advise of this, the switchover from the LNG to the ADO that was necessary, and requested a waiver of the special consumption tax on ADO for electricity generation, or an application of the concessionary rate of $4.56 per litre, down from $44.90 per litre for the month of July, sufficient for the restoration of normalcy. He says the Ministry of Finance responded and communicated the application of the concessionary rate, coming down from a massive $44.90 per litre to $4.56 per litre for the month of July, as JPS asked for it. And they granted it. So the question this morning, George, listeners, if Dr. Clark and the government is saying that it granted a concessionary rate waiver on buying that more expensive fuel, ADO, why was the pass-through cost on people's bills 30%? That's the question. That is the question this morning. And it demands a further explanation from JPS. That's what's on my mind.
The Ministry of Justice offers free counseling to victims of crime. Call 876-946-0663. The time by the Ministry of Justice is
6:46.
Grace Foods got the taste that moves you.
Grace is bringing family, food, and fun together in one place. Get ready for Grace Food Festival on August 24th at Hope Gardens. Gates open from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Enjoy a day filled with culinary delights, kiddie zone, enough giveaways, back to school village, discounted Grace products, and live performance from Ding Dong and much more. Grace Food Festival, August 24th at Hope Gardens from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. APC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
NHT contributors, if your house was damaged by Hurricane Beryl, you may be eligible for an NHT disaster relief loan or grant to help with repairs. Find out how to apply at nht.gov.jm or call 888-CALL-NHT. That's 888-225-5648.
The following is an important announcement from the National Water Commission. Customers situated in sections of Portmore St. Catherine are being advised that pipeline work along Grange Lane Main Road will impact their water supply between 11 p.m. Wednesday, August 21, 2024, and Friday afternoon, August 23, 2024. The NWC is urging customers in the following communities to store water for use during the period, as they may experience low pressures or no water conditions. Christian Gardens, Portmore Villas, Gregory Park, Cedar Grove, Waterford, Port Henderson, Edgewater, Cumberland, Newlands, Naggahead, Bridgeport, Mount Royal, Fort Augusta, Southborough, Hellshire and surrounding communities. Where necessary, trucked water will be delivered to affected areas. The NWC thanks its customers in advance for their understanding ahead of these necessary improvements work starting 11 p.m. on Wednesday night. It says regular water supply will gradually resume by late afternoon on Friday, August 23, 2024. The following was an important announcement from the National Water Commission.
Street Smart and the JUTC Morning Commute is brought to you by JUTC, your route to excellence.
Ludlow McLean, Street Smarts 1. That's the combination. Good morning, Ludlow.
Morning, George. Morning, Tony.
Hey to you, Ludlow.
All right. Just to tell you a very quick update in terms of what's happening. You know, at this time, the eastern side, they won't have much of a problem coming in from Sir Flores, coming onto Winwood Road, then onto Mountain View. Not much of a problem there. But also on Michael Manley Boulevard, coming from Sir Flores, Glasspool Highway, going around all those areas. Going further up Mountain View, and this is northbound, you find it really clear at this point. And I think this is for another couple of weeks. All the way up towards Stanton Terrace, at that intersection going across to Fairway Avenue. You'll find that also pretty good. Lady Musgrave in both directions. If you're going to Trafalgar or you're going further around towards East Kings House Road, you're going to find that pretty good going there. And you know, when the East Kings House Road going around to Barbican Road, also free. So if you're going up to Rustlight or Birdsoccer Lane or coming down, it's not much of a problem in that area. Jacksfield Road, coming down towards Barbican Road and Whitcomb Road towards Barbican, those areas are free for the moment, free flowing. The challenge mainly is from the west coming east. So we'll talk about that come 7:18. Back.
Thank you, Ludlow. Ludlow McLean there with Street Smarts 1. Up next, the word of the day.
Street Smart and the JUTC Morning Commute was brought to you by JUTC, your route to excellence.
Your word of the day is spelled E-N-D-E-M-I-C, spelled E-N-D-E-M-I-C.
Endemic. Endemic. Endemic.
Endemic is your word of the day, a descriptive word, an adjective, endemic, meaning natural to or characteristic of a specific people or place, native, indigenous, or some other synonyms provided by dictionary.com for endemic. Natural to or characteristic of a specific people or place, endemic. Dictionary.com is telling us that endemic was first recorded between 1655 and 1665, between 1655 and 1665. And the sentence is provided by Dictionary.com this morning. The koala is endemic to Australia, found nowhere else in the world. Another for you, the genetic trait is endemic to the local population. passed down through generations. Endemic is your word of the day, spelt again ENDEMIC, meaning natural to or characteristic of a specific people or place, native or indigenous. That is your word of the day. But just before we go, yesterday, George, we were supposed to have a conversation about Trinidad and its coat of arms, and
well
segued into something else.
Yeah, I want us to just hold off on that because I wanted to point out something which I learned yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if I was the only one who thought of it that way. I asked Mr. King this morning and he too shared my perspective. No, it is this. I thought before yesterday that when JPS said it sends an estimated bill for the current cycle and they say it's an average of the previous 3 bills, I'm sure I'm not the only one who thought that means that it's the average dollar figure on the previous 3 bills that produces the average which they apply to the estimated bill.
So that's not it?
No.
But that's what I thought too.
There you go. So here's what I found out last evening. When JPS says your estimated bill for the current cycle is an average of your previous 3 bills, what they really mean is that it's an average of the consumption value on your previous 3 bills multiplied by whatever the current fuel charge is. That's how they arrive at your estimated bill. You could knock me down with a feather because I was certain I was clear on what they meant by how the estimated bill for the current cycle is generated.
And I'm sure a lot of people were thinking what we were thinking.
Yeah, which is a
$5, $10, and $20.
Right, the average of that gives you which is why people were up in arms because they're saying, but look, how is it that I paid 10,000 before, then 12,000 after that, and 15,000 after that? I know you give me an estimated bill for 30,000 and tell me it's an average of the previous 3 bills. Obviously, 5, 10, and 12, the average of that doesn't give you 30. And people were quarreling. But JPS is saying, well, no, it's not the dollar value, it's the consumption of the average consumption across the last 3 bills. So we take consumption for the previous 3 months, average it out, then we multiply that figure by the current fuel charge. That's how we get your estimate. I never knew that. And you never know that either. King never know that. I wonder how many other people never know that.
Because, George, what I'm thinking now is that a lot of people may have gone back to just look at your 3 previous light bills and you have an idea of how much you're about to pay.
And
then you get your bill now and you're completely blown away.
That's the problem. Yeah? Break time.
Yeah.
Ginger is a plant that originated in Southeast Asia. While ginger adds a lot of flavor to food, it's also been used as an alternative form of medicine throughout history. If you're rooting for a healthier you, consider adding ginger to your diet. In Food for Thought today, this feature will explore 6 health benefits of ginger. Better digestion. Ginger helps speed up the digestion process. Someone with digestive issues such as indigestion, constipation, or irritable bowel syndrome (IBS) might find relief by adding it into their regular diet. It increases movement in the digestive tract and promotes healthy enzymes that help break down the foods we eat. It improves immunity. Gingerol, the bioactive compound found in raw ginger, boosts immunity with its antimicrobial and antifungal properties. Ginger also contains antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. The combination of these properties has many benefits, which include improving coughs, lowering fevers, fighting off infections, relieving headaches, and easing other symptoms associated with the common cold and the flu. It relieves nausea. One of the most well-known health side effects of ginger is its ability to relieve nausea. Whether it's from motion sickness, migraines, morning sickness, or general stomach problems, ginger helps to calm it. It does so with its anti-inflammatory properties, better digestive responsiveness, and hormones that regulate blood pressure to calm the body. It may help with cancer. While it is not a cure-all, its antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties help protect your body. Ginger is also a safe option to reduce the symptoms of nausea and pain often associated with cancer treatment. When you're undergoing chemotherapy, adding ginger into your diet helps combat the treatment's side effects of nausea or dizziness. It reduces pain. Ginger is a natural pain reliever. This makes it an excellent substitute for over-the-counter pain medications. It acts as an anti-inflammatory and works to eliminate compounds in the body that result in pain. Its anti-inflammatory properties reduce the pain associated with arthritis and increases joint mobility. Arthritis sufferers are often prescribed anti-inflammation medication to lessen their symptoms, but ginger works as a natural alternative. It's a good weight loss aid. Some studies have shown that consuming ginger helps aid in weight loss. Ginger controls insulin levels, boosts metabolism, and aids in workout recovery. It gives your metabolism a boost and creates a feeling of fullness to prevent overeating. It isn't a fix-all, but when incorporated with other weight loss efforts, it can supplement your results. Ginger is a safe home remedy that is unlikely to cause serious side effects, and adding ginger to your diet is a simple way to improve your health. Good health is above wealth. That's it for Food for Thought. Until next time.
Fearless and fair, nationwide 90 FM.
Diabetes is among the list of chronic illnesses in Jamaica. For many of you, it's not as easy to deal with, especially in children. Hi, I'm Tana, and today on Lifestyle Pages, ideal foods for a child with diabetes. Healthy snacks are important for kids with diabetes. When deciding what snacks to give your child, incorporate all food groups. Have them try a low-fat cracker and all-natural peanut butter. Add some yogurt to their diet. Make sure it's low-fat and no sugar. As far as fruits are concerned, they can have melon, orange, and grapes. Remember, a snack isn't a snack if your child doesn't eat the next meal. They might not like new foods at first, so be the example you want your child to mirror. That was your Lifestyle Pages. I'm Tana.
Nationwide 90 FM, continuing the tradition of fair, fearless, and factual reporting.
From Negril Point to Morant Bay, a little kindness can go a far way. The time by the Jamaica Information Service is...
News time, 7 o'clock.
If you need to build it, plumb it, weld it, pave it, or power it, National Supply has it. Get the best brands for the job at Jamaica's Industrial Hardware Superstore. Kingston or Bay. The temperature by National Supply is...
30 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 28 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay.
The most credible news in the morning. The news at 7 on Nationwide 90 FM.
Coming up in the news at 7 this morning, Tuesday, August 20, 2024, Finance Minister refutes JPS's claim that it knew post-burial power bills would be increased. JPS says increased bills are the result of higher fuel costs. And the Energy Minister gives the JPS 18 days to provide detailed explanation of post-burial light bill hike. In international news, Blinken is in Egypt seeking progress towards ceasefire deal in Gaza.
News at 7 is brought to you by Fosrich, your electrical, lighting, solar, and LED people.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Now to the details. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke is rejecting as inaccurate a claim from the Jamaica Public Service Company JPS that his ministry was informed beforehand that customers would see higher light bills for the July to August billing cycle. The claim was made on Monday evening on Nationwide at 5 by the Director of Corporate Communications at JPS, Winsome Callum.
But you said you told key stakeholders, though, Miss Callum. The OUR must be surely a top stakeholder.
I know that the government was advised, just because of the specific issues there with regards to the significantly higher cost of the ADO. But I wouldn't want to say without seeing the communication that the OUR had been advised. I think so, but I'd have to double check.
So who are the key stakeholders who were advised?
The primary stakeholder that I'm speaking of is the government, the principals in the government who would have gotten this information.
You told the energy minister that you were going to have increased bills in August.
I know that the Minister of Finance would have been aware of it.
And your energy minister?
That, again, I'd have to check.
But in a lengthy thread on X on Monday evening, Minister Clark refuted the claim. He published multiple letters detailing communication between JPS and his office in early July, in which the utility provider requested a waiver of the taxes on automotive diesel fuel or the application of the concessionary rate of $4.56 per litre. The normal rate is $44.90 per litre. The letters show that the ministry consented to the concessionary rate. There is no reference to impending increases in bill amounts. Dr. Clark says JPS's statements are misleading, distorted, and incomplete.
This is most unfortunate. I can only imagine that it is either an unintentional error or a deliberate attempt to divert attention away from the inability of the JPS to restore normality to the Jamaican consumer. Whatever the motivation, in light of this misinformation and in the interest of transparency on this issue of understandable concern to Jamaicans, I've decided to release the communication between JPS and the Ministry of Finance on this matter.
The minister says the misinformation is unacceptable.
Consistent with the advocacy and posture of the Minister of Science, Energy and Technology, the Honourable Darrell Vaz, on this matter, I urge the JPS to focus on the technical matters under their control and urgently restore normalcy to the Jamaican consumer. The government of Jamaica will not give distortionary or diversionary tactics the space to prevail.
Dr. Nigel Clark, the Minister of Finance. Meanwhile, the Director of Corporate Communications at the JPS, Winsome Callum, says the massive rise in light bills for the August period is primarily driven by an increase in fuel charges. She appeared on Nationwide at 5 on Monday to respond to the wave of backlash from customers reacting to the increase in their most recent light bills. As we hear in this report from Mahira Stewart, JPS customers were not told to brace for an increase.
According to Winsome Callum, JPS had to transition from using liquefied natural gas, LNG, to automotive diesel oil, ADO, before Hurricane Beryl impacted sections of the country on July 3. The JPS Director of Corporate Communications says the fuel switch resulted in a more than 30% increase in charges.
The JPS does not set its own rate. The energy charge on electricity bill, that is set by the OUR, and that can only be changed by the OUR. The other component of the bill is made up of what we call variable charges that will change from 1 month to the next. And the biggest charge that changes from 1 month to the next is the fuel charge. So the primary driver of the increase in electricity bills this month is the increase in the fuel charge. The fuel charge has moved from $24.33 per kilowatt hour on the July bill to $32.17 per kilowatt hour on the August bill.
Ms. Callum says JPS had to use a more expensive fuel, ADO, to generate electricity for approximately 1 week in July.
We had to switch, meaning the power plants that use LNG, natural gas, had to switch to the more expensive ADO just before Hurricane Beryl hit. The automotive diesel oil, that's ADO, is the more expensive fuel. In fact, it is more than twice the cost of the LNG. Just before the hurricane hit Jamaica, the suppliers of LNG had to take the gas facility off line to protect it from damage during the storm. In total, I believe we were on ADO for about a week because of the unavailability of LNG.
Ms. Callum admits that the excessive increase in electricity bills is, quote, really unfortunate, end quote, especially at a time when customers are still struggling to recover from Hurricane Beryl. She also concedes that there could have been improved communication from JPS regarding the increase in electricity bills. However, Ms. Callum maintains the specific amount in charges was not known by the company in advance.
It would have been good to have alerted our customers early. What really happened is that we would not have known the exact value of the fuel charge that would have been passed on to the customer until at the end of the month before the billing period started last week. We did advise some key stakeholders in this regard because we figured that it would have affected our customers.
But one of those key stakeholders was not the customer.
I know what you're saying, and I totally agree with you that giving our customers the heads up, even if we didn't have the specific number or the specific figure of what the fuel charge would have been, giving our customers the heads up would have been useful.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
And the Energy Minister Daryl Vaz has written to the JPS demanding a detailed explanation of the reason for the spike in light bills sent to customers for the July to August cycle. These bills are due for payment in September. In a letter to President and the CEO of JPS, Hugh Grant, sent on Monday afternoon, Minister Vaz said his ministry had been flooded with complaints from customers raging at the exorbitant bills they were being asked to pay by the light and the power company. He gave the example of a community center in St. Elizabeth, which despite not having power since before the passage of Hurricane Beryl, was hit with a bill for about $70,000. Minister Vaz wrote that in the spirit of transparency, JPS ought to give details about how it calculated these latest bills at a time when many customers did not have power for parts of the billing cycle. Vaz has given the JPS until September 6, 18 days from the date of his letter, to submit the information. And PNP General Secretary Dr. Dayton Campbell says small farmers have been particularly hard hit by the government's failure to hold the JPS to account for the slow process of power restoration to customers.
You have people that are small farmers that have chicken and they reach 6 weeks and they can't kill the chicken because they're not in a refrigerator to put it in. The chicken that got big, reach out 10 pounds. Wants to be road. And you can't kill the chicken because you don't have nowhere to put the chicken and refrigerate it. You have people that their livelihood has been affected. Did you know that 30% of the chicken that you consume in this country is produced by small farmers? 30%.
Dr. Dayton Campbell, PNP General Secretary. A session of the 60th Annual Conference of the Jamaica Teachers Association now underway in Trelawny descended into a clash of words on Monday over the lawsuit brought against the body by immediate past President LaSonia Harrison. Current President Leighton Johnson was verbally assailed from all sides when he attempted to address the matter at the afternoon session of day one. Ms. Harrison is attempting to have the court quash the JTA's current 3-year wage agreement with the government. Siobhan Campbell tells us more.
Immediate past president of the JTA, LaSonia Harrison, contends in her lawsuit that the virtual special delegates vote held in March last year to accept the wage offer presented by the Ministry of Finance was in breach of the association's constitution. The current president, Leighton Johnson, confirmed the suit to his membership gathered at the Princess Grand Hotel in Negril, Westmoreland on Monday for the start of the JTA's 60th annual conference. He stated that the teachers' union has hired King's Counsel Caroline Hay to mount a vigorous defense. But Mr. Johnson expressed concern over the implications for the organization to be sued by one of its members.
Based on advice that we have received, ladies and gentlemen, we indicate that this is a matter for us to defend. This must be done for us in terms of the outcome of this. This is something that needs to be treated with in due course. We will further address this issue. It would be remiss of me if I were not to say that we as an executive of the association are quite concerned with the actions where members sue the JTA and force us to choose to bring such actions against the association, forcing us to expend funds from the association to defend.
The JTA president was pressed on the appropriateness of his utterances about the lawsuit. When he attempted to defend his comments, he was interrupted by JTA President-elect Mark Malaba, who accused him of attempting to color the matter.
And on the basis that this is a matter that has been referred to and asked.
On a point of order, if it is that someone has brought a legal matter with respect to this, there is no need to seek to color it in the way that it is being colored, Mr. President, because the matter is properly placed within the courts. Let the courts decide on this matter. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Johnson, in response, accused Mr. Malaba of trying to mislead the gathering. This sparked another clash of words between the two.
The legal opinions as we saw from our attorneys, that is what we are presenting an update at this time.
Mr. President, with the greatest of respect, Mr. President, you are not presenting the legal opinion. You are presenting...
Mr. Malava, I did not act, Mr. Malava.
Opinion, Mr. President.
I am not presenting something. You are misleading the conference.
Mr. President.
You are misleading the conference.
Mr. President, I am standing here as a legitimate member of the union, and I'm saying, Mr. President, that with respect, you are not presenting the legal opinion, you are presenting your own opinion on this matter.
Mr. Johnson called for his comments to be struck from the record, but this resulted in a loud chant of no from teachers.
That must be stricken from the record. The member is out of order because, again, he is misleading the conference. He is misleading the conference.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Siobhan Campbell for Nationwide News.
Head of the Fraud Prevention Unit at National Commercial Bank, NCB, Dane Nicholson, is urging customers to be vigilant against scammers calling and attempting to deceive them into revealing personal information. This type of scam is known as vishing. Mr. Nicholson's warning follows a viral audio recording of a telephone conversation in which a fraudster tried to convince an NCB customer to click on a link sent via SMS. Robbie Ann Williams reports.
In the viral audio recording, the fraudster identified himself as Ryan, calling from the NCB Fraud Department. The fraudster then asked the male customer to verify some activities on his account, which was placed on hold by the bank.
Where's the last place that you last used your card?
Credit card?
Yes.
It was at Little Caesar and Popeyes.
All right, because we've been getting complaints because it's the 7 Crave app. We've been getting complaints of customers calling about using the 7 Crave app and that their account has been compromised. Hence the reason why I've called you and we've placed a hold on your account.
The fraudster proceeded to tell the customer that an SMS was sent to his phone with a link to click and verify that he was the one who made the transactions. However, the customer became aware of the ruse.
Hang up your phone, bro.
You got the text message?
Jamaicans of his scams, Jamaican, bro. Hang up your phone.
Bro, calm down. You know what I'm bro? Calm down, bro.
Go overseas, bro.
Bro, you know code, bro. I bank where I'm not you, brother. I bank have to give back your one. You have to know them things, brother. If you just cooperate, man, I will split the food. I make a bank give back your one. You have to know them things, brother. I'm a boy, and I say I would, man.
But still, go overseas, man. Help our white people.
Speaking during Cliff Hughes Online on Monday, Mr. Nicholson says a bank representative must be able to tell a customer of the suspicious activity on their account. He says NCB will never send its customers links to click on via SMS or email.
If somebody from the bank is going to call you to say that there is a suspicious transaction on your account, they must tell you what the suspicious transaction are and do not ask you where was the last time you use your card and then tell you that they have been getting reports from those places that you would have used your card. So that is the first red flag. NCB has a strict no-click, no-link policy. We do not communicate via links either through SMS or email.
Mr. Nicholson is warning customers not to collude with fraudsters.
So you hear he made the point about splitting the food. A lot of customers Unfortunately, it is the mentality that a lot of persons are willing to quote unquote split the food. But I want to warn the listeners that this is a criminal activity. In cases where customers' accounts are compromised and they play no part in it, financial institution will reimburse 100% of the losses associated. In situations like these, where customers either collude or unwittingly or inadvertently surrender their information to criminals, it is now become discretionary, and there is no guarantee that they will be reimbursed.
Robian Williams for Nationwide News.
Overseas news now. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken flew to Egypt on Tuesday, pushing for areas of possible progress on a Gaza ceasefire and hostage release deal in talks planned for later this week, with major areas of dispute left unresolved. Blinken arrived in Egypt from Tel Aviv, where he said the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had accepted a U.S. bridging proposal aimed at narrowing the gaps between the two sides. That's the news.
News at 7 was brought to you by Fosrich, your electrical, lighting, solar, and LED people.
Sign up for the JN Money Card. It's safe, convenient, and free. The time by JN Money is
7:18.
Street Smart and the JUTC Morning Commute is brought to you by JUTC, your route to excellence.
Street Smarts 2 is now happening now with Ludlow McLean. Ludlow McLean, what's the status of the situation on the streets?
Well, you'll be pleased to know, motorists and George, that it's bright and sunny. And still not too bad. I did say the challenge would be on the west, coming out of places like the Mandela, heading towards the Washington Boulevard. But it's fair, I would say. Traffic, but it's moving. And it's the same thing along Spanish Town Road from 6 Mile. It's moving. Those of you who are coming through like Pembroke Hall and Arlene Gardens area, Valentine Gardens, Meadowbrook, all these areas are running smooth, because I'm surprised to know that Mullines and Boulevard intersection is not too bad. And if you're going further along Reddy's Road, that's above, in the vicinity of the overpass, it's pretty good going. Going through Casher Park Road, Casher Park Avenue, all those areas are smooth. Going back onto Mullines Road, going across from Mullines Road to Walton Park Road, it's also fair. Good movement at the intersection of Bay Farm Road and Walton Park Road. It's not too bad. Newark Avenue, Keysing Avenue, and that intersection is good all the way across to Hagley Park Road in both directions, running smooth. But I know when you get up into the Hagley Park to Eastwood Park to go across to South Odeon Avenue, you're going to have a little bit of a challenge. That happens every morning. So it's a fair Tuesday morning, and I tell you, after this report, I'm sure the traffic will build much more, and then you have more challenges as the morning progresses. So there you go. Our second report, as usual, lane properly and be a smart driver, be a smart pedestrian, as usual. That's Street Smart. Your safety is our concern. George,
Thank you, Ludlow. Thank you. I shall take it away. Up next, front page.
Street Smart and the JUTC Morning Commute was brought to you by JUTC, your route to excellence.
Front Page is brought to you today by ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business. For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies, including plugs, switches, panel boards, and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer, and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10, or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
7:22 on the clock. It's front page time here on Nationwide this morning. My name is George Davis.
And I'm Tona Thomas.
And just before we go into what we have for you on the front page, just to tell you that I see people are asking the question about New Fortress Energy, the source of LNG, which JPS uses to do its business to sell the power to us, and asking about how long New Fortress Energy had its systems down for. And just to verify on the back end if JPS is speaking truthfully when it says that, it was for 7 days out of the billing cycle at least using alternative diesel oil from its suppliers rather than New Fortress's LNG to generate the electricity that you get, hence the higher fuel charge. Just to say that it is a matter of course during a hurricane or on the approach of a hurricane for a power plant to enter into shutdown mode. Yeah? So it is, if you just a cursory glance on Google, type in any power company or just type in general power companies shutdown hurricane, just use that sequence of words in the Google search engine, and you'll get numerous instances where power companies shut down the plants during at the approach of a hurricane, and of course immediately after they have to get the plant fired back up. So they'll put various mechanisms in place to keep the plant cooled, but the systems will be taken offline to protect them from the wind and the flood waters during a hurricane. So it's a standard procedure. So I don't think anybody should doubt that New Fortress did indeed take its systems offline. And even so, it wouldn't have been possible for JPS to say that publicly without New Fortress issuing a rebuttal. So you can just rest assured that that part is true, and have no doubt that the JPS would mislead on that point. All right, Tona, what's in front of us now?
In front of us on the front page this morning, our discussion segment is chronicling this issue of the high bills that customers have been seeing since the passage of Hurricane Beryl. Yesterday, the country's light and power monopoly, the Jamaica Public Service Company, JPS, started facing a mounting backlash on social media. This as scores of Jamaicans demand answers to what they say has been excessive increases in their light bills for August.
Social media sites lit up over the weekend with scores of Jamaicans calling on JPS to explain what appears to be dramatic increases in their bills. The complaints were accompanied by screenshots allegedly showing major movements in the bills. The PNP's junior spokesman on foreign affairs, Christopher Henry, was one of the first to sound the alarm. The attorney at law posted a bill on the social media site X, which appears to show his electricity bill moving from $37,000 to $53,000. That's a 43% increase. According to Henry, half the time nobody is at home. But he wasn't alone. Attorney at law Kenyatta Powell saw his bill move from $6,500 to $11,745. That's a near 80% increase in his electricity bill. Powell described the bill grade A bovine excrement. It's not immediately clear what accounts for the sharp rise in the bills over a 1-month billing period. Another attorney at law, Andrea White Walters, alleged that the bills for both her office and home registered the same amount to the last cent. She has threatened to report the matter to the OUR. She is also calling for a class action lawsuit to be filed against JPS. Another user, Jones Jr., alleges his fuel and IPP charges rose by 20% when compared to his last bill. A user who goes by the name of Vivi alleges her bill moved from $12,000 to $22,000. It was a similar story from a user who goes by Campbell_IG. The person says they were away for 10 days and had 3 days with no power. The person says they used less kilowatt hours this month and has gotten a higher bill than last month. The Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, has advised customers to bring their concerns to the JPS. The Energy Minister Darrell Vaz has indicated he's exploring whether a commission of inquiry should be launched into JPS's actions following Hurricane Beryl. Repeated efforts by our news center to reach the JPS were unsuccessful. The company's CEO, Hugh Grant, directed our queries to the company's communication team. He noted he was leading restoration efforts in St. Elizabeth and therefore would not be in a position to have a conversation. Multiple calls to the company's Director of Corporate Communications, Winsome Callum, have gone unanswered. Nora Gay Banton for Nationwide News.
Well, thank you, Nora. JPS's Director of Corporate Communications, Winsome Callum, appeared on Nationwide at 5 on Monday, and she ostensibly came to explain the reason for the increased bills people were seeing.
According to Winsome Callum, JPS had to transition from using liquefied natural gas, LNG, to automotive diesel oil, ADO, before Hurricane Beryl impacted sections of the country on July 3. The JPS Director of Corporate Communications says the fuel switch resulted in a more than 30% increase in charges.
The JPS does not set its own rate. The energy charge on electricity bill, that is set by the OUR, and that can only be changed by the OUR. The other component of the bill is made up of what we call variable charges, charges that will change from 1 month to the next. And the biggest charge that changes from 1 month to the next is the fuel charge. So the primary driver of the increase in electricity bills this month is the increase in the fuel charge. The fuel charge has moved from $24.33 per kilowatt hour on the July bill to $32.17 per kilowatt hour on the August bill.
Ms. Callum says JPS had to use a more expensive fuel, ADO, to generate electricity for approximately 1 week in July.
We had to switch, meaning the power plants that use LNG, natural gas, had to switch to the more expensive ADO just before Hurricane Beryl hit. The automotive diesel oil, that's ADO, is the more expensive fuel. In fact, it is more than twice the cost of the LNG. Just before the hurricane hit Jamaica, the suppliers of LNG had to take the gas facility offline to protect it from damage during the storm. In total, I believe we were on ADO for about a week because of the unavailability of LNG.
Ms. Callum admits that the excessive increase in electricity bills is, quote, really unfortunate, end quote, especially at a time when customers are still struggling to recover from Hurricane Beryl. She also concedes that there could have been improved communication from JPS regarding the increase in electricity bills. However, Ms. Callum maintains the specific amount in charges was not known by the company in advance.
It would have been good to have alerted our customers early. What really happened is that we would not have known the exact value of the fuel charge that would have been passed on to the customer until at the end of the month before the billing period started last week. We did advise some key stakeholders in this regard because we figured that it would have affected our customers.
But one of those key stakeholders was not the customer.
I know what you're saying, and I totally agree with you that giving our customers the heads up, even if we didn't have the specific number or the specific figure of what the fuel charge would have been, giving our customers the heads up would have been useful.
Mahiri Stewart for Nationwide News.
Ms. Callum told Cliff and Ricardo that key stakeholders were advised.
But you said you told key stakeholders, though, Miss Callum. The OUR must be surely a top stakeholder.
I know that the government was advised just because of the specific issues there with regards to the significantly higher cost of the ADO. But I wouldn't want to say without seeing the communication that the OUR had been advised. I think so, but I'd have to double check.
So who are the key stakeholders who were advised?
The primary stakeholder that I'm speaking of is the government, the principals in the government who would have gotten this information.
You told the energy minister that you were going to have increased bills in August.
I know that the Minister of Finance would have been aware of it.
And your energy minister?
That, again, I'd have to check.
Winsome Callum. More as we chronicle this issue of the JPS and the reasons for the higher light bills and the communication to key stakeholders, and what the Ministry of Finance has said in letters shared with the public on social media site X on Monday. What all those say about the situation we're facing now after these.
Give up every illegal gun. Call the police at 119 or Crime Stop at 311. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
7:32.
Did you know that the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, or BSJ as we are known, has been serving and helping Jamaican businesses to grow for over 54 years, now testing over 57,000 products annually? The BSJ develops and promotes standards for products consumers see and use every day. We stand tall as your quality assurance partner, testing a range of products including foods, construction materials, petroleum products, packaging material, cosmetics, paints, and pharmaceuticals. Did you know that the BSJ has over 20 labs in Kingston that conduct these tests, operating at the highest international standards, giving you the speed to take your products from the lab to market, driving your business growth with 100% confidence? Contact us at 876-618-1534.
When last you get good bun, you don't know good bun until you have a mother's bakery bun. From you pull open the wrapper and it's soft so till. A so bun for nice. And from when you take the first bite, love it so till. A so bun for nice. Beg your piece.
Get your own mother's bakery bun.
I will buy one off you.
Yes, but I will charge a convenience fee.
I will take one. Me too. Mother's bakery buns. A so bun for nice. Try them today.
Beneficiaries, your Path August 2024 payment includes a back-to-school grant of $3,500 for each primary and secondary student. Be sure to check with your post office or payment agency for your payment. For more information, call Path at 876-922-8007 or visit the Ministry's website, mlss.gov.jm. Path, advancing your family, developing Jamaica. A message from the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, providing opportunity, stability and social protection.
Welcome back to the JPS Light Bill Increase Chronicles, we're calling it. The Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, was swift to respond to what was said by Ms. Callum on Nationwide at 5 on Monday. He rejected as inaccurate the claim from her that his ministry was informed beforehand that customers would see higher light bills for the July to August billing cycle. In a lengthy thread on X on Monday evening, Minister Clark provided documents to back up his claim, and then this is what he said.
It has been brought to my attention that the communications director of the JPS misled the Jamaican people on nationwide radio a short while ago by providing a distorted and incomplete picture of communications in July between the JPS and the Ministry of Finance. This is most unfortunate. I can only imagine that it is either an unintentional error or a deliberate attempt to divert attention away from the inability of the JPS to restore normality to the Jamaican consumer. Whatever the motivation, in light of this misinformation and in the interest of transparency on this issue of understandable concern to Jamaicans, I've decided to release the communication between JPS and the Ministry of Finance on this matter. The liquefied natural gas, LNG, floating storage and regasification unit that supplies LNG to South Jamaica Power's Old Harbour Power Station had to be relocated for safety reasons ahead of Hurricane Beryl's arrival. This meant that this dual-fuel power station that relied on LNG as the primary fuel source would have to temporarily resort to the alternative of automotive diesel oil, ADO, which is more expensive. The JPS wrote to me to advise of this and to specifically request, and I quote, a waiver of the SET on ADO for electricity generation or an application of the concessionary rate of $4.56 per litre, down from $44.90 per litre, for the month of July sufficient for the restoration of normalcy? The Ministry of Finance responded and communicated the application of the concessionary rate of $4.56 per litre, down by nearly 90% from the $44.90 per litre communicated in JPS's letter to me. And this was applicable for the month of July as specifically requested by JPS. Consistent with the advocacy and posture of the Minister of Science, Energy and Technology, the Honorable Darrell Vaz, on this matter, I urge the JPS to focus on the technical matters under their control and urgently restore normalcy to the Jamaican consumer. The government of Jamaica will not give distortionary or diversionary tactics the space to prevail.
That's the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark. He published multiple letters detailing communication between JPS and his office in early July, in which the utility provider requested a waiver of the taxes on automotive diesel fuel or application of the concessionary rate of $4.56 per litre. The normal rate, $44.90 per litre. The letters show that the ministry consented to the concessionary rate.
So the communication that we have before us, the Jamaica Public Service Company wrote to the Finance Minister on July 1, 2024, and the subject of that email said tax impact from switch to ADO fuel due to Hurricane Beryl. JPS said in its letter to the Finance Minister, Dr. Nigel Clark, New Fortress Energy, NFE, the suppliers of natural gas from LNG, advised JPS that of 12 noon on July 1, it would cease the supply of gas from its floating storage and regasification unit, the FSRU, stationed offshore at Old Harbour, ahead of the passage of Hurricane Beryl across Jamaica. The relocation of the unit is to avoid storm damage and so protect its long-term availability to supply gas. There is no gas storage facility at Old Harbour outside of the FSRU. As a result of the unavailability of its primary fuel, the South Jamaica Power Company, SJPC, an independent power producer, has been operating on its alternative fuel, that's the automotive diesel oil, ADO, since 12 p.m. July 1. The plant, which supplies 194 megawatts of generation capacity to the system, will generate on ADO, the more expensive fuel, until gas is again available. The JPS Bogue 114 megawatts combined cycle power plant in Montego Bay will also have to switch to ADO upon exhaustion of the 5 days of storage available at that station. Note that the NFE Jamaica power plant that supplies 94 megawatts to the grid is unable to switch to ADO at this time, and therefore that capacity will not be available to supply energy to the grid until the FSRU is restationed. It says, we have highlighted to the ministry on previous occasions that there is a significant tariff impact from the switch to ADO to generate electricity for two reasons. One, ADO prices marketably higher than LNG, and at number two, the appreciable higher special consumption tax applied to ADO since November 2021 from $4.56 per litre to $44.90 per litre. The increase in the fuel rate from these two factors is further compounded on customers' bills when GCT is applied. JPS is concerned that this pass-through cost will unnecessarily increase the burden on households and businesses as they struggle to recover from the hurricane, and is an unintended consequence, a view we presume the government shares. It ends by saying in this July 1 letter to Dr. Clark, as such, we write to ask the ministry to approve either a waiver of the SCT on ADO for electricity generation or the application of the concessionary rate of $4.56 $4.56 for the month of July, sufficient for restoration of normalcy, anticipating your favorable response to the benefit of customers. And signed here is the Chief Financial Officer, Vernon Douglas.
So the case made by the JPS for the government to do one of two things. Either, to do ostensibly one thing, to reduce the SCT applied to alternative diesel oil, and to allow the JPS to apply $4.56 instead of $44.90, because they said at $44.90 nobody effectively would be able to pay their light bills. So at $4.56 allow us to apply that instead. Yeah, and that was on July 1, Tona. And what did the Finance Minister say on July 12?
Then the Finance Minister responds now on this is a letter to the Chief Financial Officer, Vernon Douglas. He says, "Dear Mr. Douglas, please be advised that the Minister of Finance and the Public Service has given approval for the Jamaica Public Service Company, South Jamaica Power Company, and NFE South Power Holdings to pay special consumption tax on imported automotive diesel oil ADO at a concessionary rate of $4.56 per litre for the month of July." And this communication was sent by the Financial Secretary at the Ministry of Finance, Darlene Morrison, on behalf of Dr. Clark.
And then further, that same day, July 12, there was a letter now from the Financial Secretary in the Ministry of Finance to the Commissioner of Customs. What did that letter say?
And then this letter to the Commissioner of Customs says reference is made to the activation by Cabinet of the Disaster Risk Management Act, DRMA, on July 1, 2024, which was occasioned by the impact that Hurricane Beryl was forecast to have on the Jamaican landscape. Please be advised that as part of the General Relief Package, the Minister of Finance and the Public Service has given approval for the Jamaica Public Service Company, South Jamaica Power Company, and NFE South Power Holdings Limited to pay SCT on imported automotive diesel oil ADO at a concessionary rate of $4.56 per litre for the month of July. This is in accordance with the powers given to the Minister under Section 46 of the General Consumption Tax GCT Act.
All right. And then, listeners, on August 19, which is Monday, yesterday, the JPS issued a piece of communication that ought to have come 19 days before, because in the face of ranting, raging, gnashing of teeth, threats, recriminations, all of those words, people, as I'm saying, plain Jamaican terms, them a char fire yesterday. In light of that, JPS issued this media release to say what, Tona?
JPS, in its August 19 press release, says, in response to concerns from customers regarding a noticeable increase in their bills, JPS is seeking to provide clarity about the charges outlined and address the issue directly. This month, many customers may have seen a rise in their electricity bills for consumption during the July to August billing period, despite consistent usage compared to previous months. The main components which cause customers' bills to either go up or down include energy charges set by the Office of Utilities Regulation, OUR, the amount of electricity that customer used, and additional components including the fuel charge and the billing exchange rate, which may change monthly. The recent increase is primarily due to a higher fuel charge and, to a much lesser extent, a higher billing exchange rate. The fuel charge on August bills is $32.17 per kilowatt hour compared to the fuel charge of $24.33 on July bills. The billing exchange rate on bills moved from $156.30 in July to $157.53 in August. Why have fuel charges increased? JPS asked, and here's the answer they provided. The fuel charge that customers see on their bills is heavily influenced by the actual costs associated with purchasing the fuel used to generate electricity for the period. Then it explains the use of the ADO, automotive diesel oil. As a precautionary measure against potential hurricane damage, New Fortress Energy, the liquefied natural gas LNG supplier, had to take the gas facility offline just before burial to protect it from damage. The switch of dependent generating plants from LNG to the significantly more expensive fuel, the ADO, automotive diesel oil, to generate electricity for some days resulted in higher associated costs reflected in customers' bills. JPS ends its press release by saying it will continue to provide customers with information and clarity, even as it strives to provide reliable and high-quality service to all customers.
All right, after the break, you need a break, Mr. King? After the break, we will try to just put some things into perspective based on all we've just read so far.
Listen up, motorists. Speeding burns more gas. So slow down. The life you save may be your own and also that of your loved ones. Slow down. Save lives and money. The time by the Insurance Association of Jamaica is
7:48.
At Hawkeye, our mission is to deliver cutting-edge security solutions to help you keep track of the things you value most.
The temperature by Hawkeye is
29 degrees Celsius in Kingston, 30 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay.
Just touched down on the island. Popeye's wings and styler. Roll up in at the venue. Brand new thing on the menu. Wing the alarm for the ghost pepper. Nice. On the barbecue and the sweet and spicy. Wing the alarm flavor them take off. Yo, Popeye's wings are the right breed. See them so we do. Popeye's wings touched down in Jamaica. Bag of flavors. Brand new thing on the menu. Roll up in at the venue. Tell them a styler send you. Love that chicken from Popeye.
Attention all commuters, your JUTC fares just got lower. Use your Smarter card today and pay only $50. Yes, only $50. Travel safe and hassle-free with the JUTC using your Smarter card. But wait, there's more. Get 3 free rides with your first Smarter card top-up before May 31. With your Smarter card, paying your fare is easier. Say goodbye to coins and hello to hassle-free travel. Don't miss this opportunity when you travel with the JUTC, your route to excellence. Conditions apply.
For all your electrical needs, visit ABC Electrical Sales. They stock a wide variety of electrical supplies including plugs, switches, panel boards and conduits, plus energy-saving fixtures. ABC Electrical Sales stocks brands like GE, Siemens, Philips, Cutler Hammer and Allen Bradley. They also offer free island-wide delivery just to suit your needs. Visit them at Shop 8, Hagley Park Plaza, Kingston 10 or call 876-754-3714-5 or 876-754-3825-8. ABC Electrical Sales for a better choice in the electrical business.
At Design Privacy, we value relationships. Join our exclusive open DPO community and interact with privacy professionals. Share ideas, insightful challenges, and build career-boosting connections with expert advice at your fingertips. Get access to specialized tools, exclusive workshops, and case studies. Enjoy unparalleled networking. Join Design Privacy's open DPO community to expand your expertise and excel in your career. Visit opendpocommunity.com today and take your data privacy skills to the next level.
All right, so a couple of things to seek to just put some perspective on. For those of you who already know, the information is not for you. It's for those who are wanting answers. And based on our reading of the issue or proximity to the issue, this is what we're saying. So in the July 1 letter from the JPS, from Vernon Douglas, the Chief Financial Officer at JPS, to the finance minister. He said, look, New Fortress Energy will have challenges ahead of the passage of Beryl, and they've relocated a unit to avoid storm damage and protect long-term availability of the gas. So we're going to have to bring in alternative diesel oil. Now, because the government has long been on this LNG push, LNG significantly cheaper than heavy fuel oil, which used to power the JPS plants back in the day, and certainly also significantly cheaper than alternative diesel oil. JPS is saying, we know that you have a special consumption tax of $44.90, and this I'm assuming is US dollars, per liter. $44.90. It doesn't say US, so I'm not taking it as US. $44.90 per liter to dissuade us from importing the alternative diesel oil, because then it would be so expensive to process that and put into the energy generation mix. So $44.90 per liter is a prohibitive tax, as taxes work. That's the purpose of taxation, to prohibit certain things, yeah? So you don't want us to buy the alternative diesel oil. You've put $44.90 per liter as the special consumption tax on it. We're asking you to not apply $44.90. We're asking you to allow us to apply $4.56 instead, which, if you do the math, $44.90 down to $4.56, that's a 91% decrease in the special consumption tax that we want you to give us permission to apply to the alternative diesel oil we must import, rather than the $44.90. We want to pay 91% less. The government says yes. All right, good. Then the other thing to say is this. Why would the JPS need to take alternative diesel oil from New Fortress Energy for 7 days out of the billing cycle? Don't you have LNG stored that you could use? All I'll say is the same way with a gas station. No matter how much inventory the gas station has, Tana, if and when the bulletin from Petrojam comes out to say gas prices have gone up, the price at the pumps will change immediately, because it's not as if they're going to use up what they bought at $10 before setting the new price at $12. No, whatever they have in inventory, the gas price go up, the price at the pump changes immediately. So the JPS is saying, well, this thing is based on just-in-time kind of delivery. We buy what we need to generate to supply electricity to our customers. We don't have the LNG stored, and we certainly wouldn't have 7 days rather of LNG stored. So we have to buy, we have to use the fuel source that we can get our hands on just in time. And LNG supply will be cut off as Beryl approaches, so we won't be able to get any from New Fortress, and we don't have any stored, so we have to go immediately to the alternative diesel oil, so we have to use that, and they use that for 7 days. So that clears up, I would think, the question about if the JPS had the LNG stored and why they had to buy and use 7 days worth of alternative diesel oil. The other thing to consider is this. The JPS fuel charge, $32.17 per kilowatt hour. When you apply that to the consumption on the bill and the marginal increase in the exchange rate, every calculation that the JPS does will always work back. You think of your math lessons from high school when you had the answer to the problem, and just to be certain that you had it right, you worked it back to see if you arrived at the original factors which gave you the answer that you worked forward to. It will always work back. Yeah, but the problem is in the details. The problem is in the details. And as I said, when you've communicated to the public over time that your estimated bill is an estimate of your last light bill, that can only mean, in my view, and these are the things that lawyers argue over weekly, the meaning of words. That can only mean that you're telling me that you're taking an average of my last 3 light bills. Mm-hmm. Not for me to go granular to say, oh, what we mean is an average of your last 3 consumption amounts on your last 3 light bills. That's a different thing. And it costs you nothing. It doesn't make the sentence that much longer to say, an average of your consumption over the last 3 light bills as opposed to an average of your last 3 light bills. But the message we've been consistently given by the JPS, the estimated bill, and the OUR as well, the regulator who talks about the estimated bills because they get the questions. The JPS calculates your current estimated bill as an average of your last 3 light bills. So I think the public has not been given the full information where the estimated bill is concerned. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. Clearly, I've proven that I'm not the only one. Tawna didn't think so. Jeremy didn't think so. That the estimated bill or understanding of it was flawed because it's actually the consumption amount on your last 3 bills multiplied by whatever the fuel charge is now. Now, do I believe the JPS intentionally misled the public and that Ms. Callum did so yesterday? No. I think it was just, I just think she just misspoke. You don't have success and credibility in this business for so long. And I know it's beat JPS time and them deserve them beating. And so nobody's taking any prisoners. But we have to. We have to be considerate. We have to also look at the professionalism of the people who are dealing with the things that they're dealing with. And I don't think Winsome Callum came here yesterday on Nationwide at 5 to deliberately mislead the nation. I think it was an error. And the finance minister, very fast on his work. One of the things with this finance minister, always on the job, always quick to provide clarity. And he provided that clarification. Also, I'll say that in all of this, JPS's cachet with customers has again been affected. People have lost faith in the utility provider. And those who've lost the chicken in the fridge, who've had their livelihoods disrupted, who can't sew the uniforms for back to school, and then having all of this in front of them, not good. And I'll say this last thing, Tawna, that the JPS has a situation where I'm certain this press release that you read last from August 19, I just don't know why I believe that in the room discussing it, the communicators at JPS were saying, let us tell the public this early. And some other people in the room were saying, no. Because, remember, if this communication had come earlier, Tawna, it would have been disastrous because it was at the time when many people did not have light. Yeah. More people did not have light at this time last week and at this time 2 weeks ago and at this time 3 weeks ago than don't have light today. And so the communication about increased light bills would have gone down like flatulence than elevator. Because people would have been saying, well, in the midst of me not having light for how many days post-burial, you're going to raise light bills? And this is one of the situations
But here's the thing, George. The light bill started coming to the customers. And even at that point, the customers did not know what sort of increase they were going to be facing.
But what I'm saying is this. The communicators, I'm sure, would have been saying in those meetings at the JPS, let us tell the customers to brace for increases given that the fuel charge may be affected. Because remember, New Fortress shut down from before July 3. So you were certain that there were going to be a few days when you wouldn't have the LNG and the dye that is the alternative diesel oil. That charge would have so polluted the water in the billing cycle that it would have jacked the fuel price up, and if fuel price goes up, light bill must go up. But how these things work is that some technocrat or the other would have said, no, let us wait because now is an inopportune time because tempers are frayed and emotions are raw. Let's wait until later and then take the hit then. Well, the hit is happening now.
Yeah, it was a wrong approach, and I've seen too many instances where communication has been quite disastrous, I'd say. Yeah, I can't stand for having to hear customers daily, George, talking about calling into JPS and just getting flatline. Nobody's talking to them. Nobody's following up, and simple things. JPS is just not communicating, And we hear it again and again and again, and you're just asking, when is JPS going to get communication right with the people who are paying you? Now you have to fix that.
Front Page was brought to you today by ABC Electrical Sales, for a better choice in the electrical business.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
2 minutes after 8.
Success, powered by learning. The temperature, brought to you by Sandals Corporate University. Come grow with us, is
29 degrees Celsius in capital city Kingston, 30 out west in Montego Bay.
From the mountainside to seaside, countryside to townside, inside and outside, it's across Jamaica this morning.
Taking you across Jamaica this Tuesday morning, I'm Tawna Thomas. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, JCF, is urging parents and children to heighten their senses of alertness and caution while doing back-to-school shopping. In a statement on Monday, the JCF provided the following safety tips.
Tip 1. Children should pause, observe, and listen to ensure that traffic is clear on both sides of the road before crossing. Tip 2. Create a shopping list. The police say making a clear list of items will help parents to avoid overspending. Tip 3. Use cards instead of cash. The JCF warns that pickpockets are always lurking around, so a card would be more convenient when shopping for backpack to school supplies. Tips 4 and 5. Be aware of surroundings and avoid crowded areas. The police stress that when shopping with a child, parents should know their whereabouts at all times. Tip 6. Be mindful of the time and do shopping when you have easy access to traffic. Minimize mobile phone use and plan routes before shopping. Tip 9. Call bookshops ahead of time to check on price and book availability. The JCF says this will prevent parents from having to spend a long time in a particular location.
Now, a man was shot and killed after he and another man entered a policeman's yard in New Acres Drive in Mandeville, Manchester on Sunday. Dead is 41-year-old Hopton Bryan, a labourer of Somerset District in the parish. Police report that the lawman was at home at about midnight when he heard his dog barking continuously. When he went to check, he reportedly saw two men in his yard. One of the men allegedly had a firearm, which he pointed at the policeman. The policeman, who was armed with his service pistol, shot at the gunman. Bryan was hit in the neck. He was pronounced dead at hospital. Detectives assigned to the JCF's Major Investigations Division say they are probing the shooting death of two men at a bar in Gregory Park, Portmore, St. Catherine on Sunday. The deceased are identified as 29-year-old Kemar Williams, otherwise called Ghetto Beer, and 29-year-old Adane Beale, otherwise called Topman. An unidentified man was injured in the incident. Reports from the Caymanos police are that three men were at a local pub when at about 2:45 p.m., unknown assailants driving a grey motor car pounced upon them. The men alighted from the vehicle and opened gunfire, hitting all three. They escaped in the grey motor car. The police were alerted and the three victims transported to the hospital, where Williams and Beale succumbed to their injuries. The third man remains in serious but stable condition. That's it for Across Jamaica for this Tuesday morning, and we now bring you the latest from across the Caribbean for Tuesday, August 20.
From the Caribbean News Desk, the morning edition. Good morning, I'm Kendall Morgan.
And I'm Dennis Chabrol with the latest from across the Caribbean.
Antigua and Barbuda's law enforcement agencies have been told to get tough on criminals because people in the nation are living in fear. Prime Minister Gaston Brown says among those being targeted are foreigners.
We welcome immigrants to our country to help to build our country, but where they're not making productive contributions towards advancing our country and they become a security threat, they ought to be deported.
He is also challenging police and other agencies to break up youth gangs.
There's this notion that because they're youth that they should not be dealt with harshly. But some of these youth are among the most criminal elements, the most wicked and least compassionate persons within the society. And I say to you too that we want those gangs broken up. There must be no gangs in this country.
The people of Dutch St. Martin are now awaiting the results of yesterday's general elections. Polls closed at 8 o'clock last night. The Central Voting Bureau is testing a computerized system to deliver election results quicker than the manual paper-based system. Voting was peaceful but slow up to mid-afternoon yesterday. The turnout was expected to increase between 5 and 6 p.m. There were just over 20,000 persons who were eligible to cast ballots for the 116 candidates from 9 political parties.
An attempt to form a new political entity was among the reasons given by the opposition Democratic Labour Party in Barbados for its decision to expel its president, Dr. Ronnie Yearwood. Yearwood and General Secretary Steve Blackett were expelled by the DLP's General Council last Friday on the advice of the party's disciplinary committee. The two party officials had been on suspension for several months amid deepening internal conflict. The conflict was reportedly triggered by the issue of shared leadership between Dr. Yearwood as president and the recently admitted party member Ralph Thorne, who automatically became political leader by virtue of being the party's only parliamentarian. Mr. Thorne had crossed the floor from the ruling Barbados Labour Party, which up to then had commanded all 30 seats in Parliament. Acting DLP President Andrew Worrell said the dismissed officials had a long list of charges that brought the party into disrepute, including an unauthorized meeting on August 8th chaired by the president that discussed an alternative party using the DLP's resources.
That the said meeting amounted to a conspiracy to abolish and or eliminate and or create a competing political party to the DLP using the property and the resources of the DLP.
As Trinidad and Tobago moves to erase the remaining symbols of its colonial past, Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has signaled that the 3 ships of European navigator Christopher Columbus will be removed from the country's coat of arms. Dr. Rowley told a special convention of his People's National Movement on a constitutional reform that his government will replace the ships with a steel pan, the national instrument of Trinidad and Tobago.
You see them 3 Columbus boats in the emblem? They will go. And since we have enough votes in the parliament to do it, I could announce now that as soon as the legislative adjustment is made, and that adjustment should be made before the 24th of September, we then, over a 6-month period, will replace Columbus' 3 ships, the Santa Maria, the Pinta, and the Nina, with the steel pan. And that should signal that we are on our way to removing the colonial vestiges that we have in our constitution. And I hope that we start with that and we end up getting up and no longer being squatters on the steps of the Privy Council.
Internationally acclaimed Guyanese singer and composer Dave Martins has died. He passed away Sunday evening in Guyana. More from Dennis Chabral.
I could be Guyanese or Bajan, Trinidadian of Incension, a singing Marley, a singing Kitch.
Iconic Caribbean composer and singer Dave Martins has walked off this earthly stage. At 90 years old, the Guyanese musician of Dave Martins and the trade winds fame strummed his guitar one last time, leaving behind a rich legacy of evergreen music across all generations. Whether Dave Martins was living in Canada, Trinidad, or the Cayman Islands, he distinctly mirrored the Caribbean and his homeland, Guyana, in his music. The range spanned the way of life, migration, nature, love, cuisine, and sport.
But when outside faces from foreign places talk about taking over, we ain't backing down.
In international politics in the 1980s, he gave Guyana its unofficial national anthem that decades later still rallies Guyanese across the political and racial divide against Venezuela's claim to the Essequibo region.
My first knowledge of Dave Martins was the song Not a Blade of Grass, which was a rallying cry in Guyana in the 80s as we dealt with Venezuela's threat of aggression. That rallying cry actually became a mantra when I became an officer in the Guyana Defense Force during my 2 border commands. And Not a Blade of Grass became a practice, not just a speech.
In the song titled Copycats, Dave Martins tells us what he'll do when his final day comes.
So that even when the maker calls, I will be this way. I'll go walk into heaven, put on my roti and say, "What me day?"
Well, this has been the morning edition from the Caribbean News Desk. You may contact us by phone or WhatsApp at +592 700 9293. Thanks for listening.
Suzuki got some amazing wins for the summer. If you want something amazing, run go down a Suzuki.
Purchase a Suzuki Vitara, Grand Vitara, XL7 and the all-new 5-door Jimny from now until August 30 and enjoy $100,000 cash back. 8.5% interest rate up to 10 years. No processing fees. 7.5% off your insurance plus 1 year free scheduled service and tracking. Prices start at $4.79 million. $53,500 monthly. Conditions apply. Offer valid at Stewart's Automotive Group, Kingston and Mobay. Visit SuzukiJamaica.com for some amazing wins.
NHT contributors, if your house was damaged by Hurricane Beryl, you may be eligible for an NHT disaster relief loan or grant to help with repairs. Find out how to apply at nht.gov.jm or call 888-CALL-NHT. That's 888-225-5648.
My Mega With so much to do in one location, make Megamart your one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy. All in one amazing location. My Megamart, the best value by far.
Quality Talks is brought to you by Bureau of Standards Jamaica. From lab to market.
Welcome back to Nationwide this morning. It's now time for Quality Talks, and in Quality Talks today, we're turning our focus on the Bureau of Standards, Food Safety and International Access Market. And joining us is Manager of the Food Safety Modernization Branch, Sharika Satchel Knight. We're still trying to get her on the line to find out more about the Food Safety Modernization Branch, what's the primary role and the functions of that branch of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, and how that facilitates Jamaican food safety in terms of U.S. Food Safety Modernization Act and other international regulations when we look to export items, when we look to have items taken out of the country for sale, whether it be from a large manufacturer or a small business. How does that work? We'll look to getting on the manager of the Food Safety Modernization Branch to talk about that. If you're new to Nationwide this morning, you know for the past couple of weeks, at this time of a Tuesday morning, we have Quality Talks where we feature different branches, different units of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, in an aim to educate Jamaicans about these different branches of the BSJ, how they function, why are these branches important, what they do, and if it is that you need those services, how you can get those services. Sharika is now on the line. Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us in the Quality Talk segment to talk about your unit, the Food Safety Modernization Branch. So first of all, Sharika, if you could tell us the primary roles of your branch, what it does there at the BSJ.
Thank you so much. So the Food Safety Modernization Branch, our role is entrenched in the vision of the Bureau of Standards Jamaica, which really is to help our local businesses to compete internationally. And in particular, for facilities that export food products to the United States, the branch is designed and created to provide assistance to these facilities to help them to understand the regulations that are in the United States and to be able to help to get their food products into that market. So the branch, if I may provide just a little bit of history, the branch came about in 2011 when the Food Safety Modernization Act was signed into law by then President Barack Obama. And there were many different changes to the rules that govern the regulation of foods. And so at that time, persons would now have to be putting food safety plans in place, having certain controls for their products in place, etc. And so then the branch would have been designed to help to provide assistance to our nation, to help our people to understand what these new rules were so that they could implement them and be able to get their foods into the U.S. market. So in a nutshell, that is what the role of the Food Safety Modernization Branch is, to provide information and guidance to local food exporters of food to the United States about the requirements for that market.
And I ask Sharika, all of the representatives from the BSJ, this question weekly, just to tell us, break it down for us, what a typical day looks like for you at the Food Safety Modernization Branch.
Great. So a typical day looks like us getting calls or walk-ins or visits from persons who are saying, hey, I have a fantastic product, or I have an idea for a product and I'd love to be able to get that into the local or the international market. What do I do? What do I need to put in place? What kind of documents do I need to have to be able to get them onto the international scene? And so my day would be having those kinds of conversations, sometimes going to food facilities if they're already established, or setting up. So give an eye, look at what already exists, and then provide guidance to be able to help them to meet the requirements for the different markets. So that is part of what we would do. I would do here at the Bureau of Standards. That's a part of a typical day for me.
Yeah. So day to day, you're providing those, whether it be small or bigger business, with all the information to empower them to get in line with all of the guidelines necessary to ensure that they'll be able to export safely their products, whatever their food items are.
That is correct.
Okay. And how has working with organizations, for example, like the FDA and the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation and Agriculture, benefit Jamaica's food safety efforts, and what are some of the future goals in this area?
All right. So FDA, we know, is the regulators. They are that's the agency that is responsible for regulating many of the products that are in the United States.
Right.
Imagine being able to liaise with them and to be able to tap into the expert resources within that field, the persons who are writing the regulations, the persons who are doing the scientific research and providing the information. So imagine being able to have conversations and sessions and seminars with representatives from FDA as a regulator, but as an agency that provides resources, AICA as well, as you mentioned, many different resources, information, guidance documents, projects that are helping to fund different stakeholders in the food sector, agricultural sector, for example. And so to be able to provide that kind of a linkage to these agencies, I think, enhances the what it is that we can offer at the Bureau of Standards, because we are able to tap into that wealth of information. We were able to get some of the experts from FDA and AICA actually to be in Jamaica last year. And it was a fantastic 3 days because we were able to hear from the expert the changes to the regulations, those that were upcoming, and they were able to provide in-depth information to our local stakeholders so that they could better understand and better implement the rules that govern food and food safety being exported into Jamaica. So those kinds of connections and partnerships are absolutely the heartbeat of what we do here because, again, we are able to make the right connections and get the right information, and as they say, from the horse's mouth. And so there are several initiatives that we're hoping to have going forward as well with some of these agencies.
Yes.
To not only strengthen the local stakeholders to better understand the regulations and the rules, but also to increase the competencies of some of our local stakeholders that provide assistance to exporters of food to the U.S. so that they themselves can provide the kind of assistance so that when it is that we do have inspections from FDA, for example, we have experts locally who are trained to provide the kind of guidance so that when the experts from FDA comes to do their inspections, we have everything covered locally, right? Because we would have been able to get that competence and training to our local providers of feedback and expertise and information to our food industry. And so that is some of the things that we want to be able to look at with some of these partners going forward. And I'm excited about that because it would put us in a fantastic place to be able to compete on the global stage because we are understanding what the requirements are and we are meeting them and getting our fantastic products out into the world.
And a final one, Sharika, on the side of the partners now, the business people who have their products and need to abide by certain standards and need the guidelines. Anything that you want to see from their side?
What I'd love for them to know is that even if you're going to be sending your food to the United States, you have to meet the local requirements for food safety as well, right? So being registered with our National Compliance and Regulatory Authority. And we also want them to know that the Bureau of Standards, not just the Food Safety Modernization branch, but there are other branches that are so designed to provide assistance so that if they have any questions, if they're not sure, if they just want to double check, we invite them to call the Bureau of Standards, make contact with us so that we can provide that kind of assistance. The Client Services Program, there are other programs that we have that would be able to provide the kind of information that they need so that by the time they are ready to get their products into the United States and other countries, they would already have the requirements in place and therefore will have no issues getting them into these markets.
Right, they've ticked all the boxes. Sharika Satchel Knight, who is the manager of food safety of the Food Safety Modernization branch there at the Bureau of Standards Jamaica. Talking to us about her unit this morning in the Quality Talks segment. Sharika, thank you so much for your time.
It was my pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take a break and come back with more.
Quality Talks was brought to you by Bureau of Standards Jamaica. From lab to market.
Crisp and refreshing. Room temperature or chilled. A pure water would drink. The time by Pure Water is
8:25.
It is the 10th annual Good Samaritan 5K Health Run Walk. This year, our main beneficiaries are the children of the Community-Based Rehabilitation Jamaica, CBRJ. On Sunday, August the 25th at 6:30 a.m., we run, walk, and wheel to raise funds for children with disabilities. The GS 5K over the years has raised funds for various charitable organizations and assisted with community projects, health initiatives, and back-to-school support. For our 10th anniversary, we invite you to register for this 5K and give hope to the children with disabilities. To register, you can visit my.raceresult.com or scan the QR code. The GS 10th Anniversary 5K, Sunday the 25th of August. Race starts at 6:30 a.m., warm up at 6 a.m. on the grounds of the Andrews Memorial Seventh-day Adventist Church. The GS 5K, 10 years of helping. Help us, help more.
Path beneficiaries, the August payment cycle has started. Post offices and payment agencies will deliver payments based on last names up to September 2, 2024. Be sure to check the Weekend Star to find out when you should collect. If you miss your date, you must collect on September 3 or 4. For more information, call Path at 876-922-8007 or visit the ministry's website at www.mlss.gov.jm. Path, advancing your family, developing Jamaica. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
Data Protection Matters is brought to you by Design Privacy. We help you comply and build trust.
Welcome to Data Protection Matters, powered by Design Privacy, here on Nationwide 90 FM. I'm your host, Chantal Thompson. Today, we have with us Chuck Cameron, founder of Design Privacy and a data privacy expert. Welcome, Chuck.
Hi, Chantal.
So, on our last episode, Chuck spoke about, the priority list that should register by this August 31, 2024. So now he's going to, dissect what the registration particulars look like for each entity. And first, he's going to start with the pharmacies. Chuck, the floor is yours.
Thanks. So today, this is going to be like a workshop. So if you own a pharmacy or manage a pharmacy, I'm going to recommend you take out your pen and paper and take some detailed notes. So the pharmacy industry is part of that health industry that is required to file by August 31. So we have passed the theory and the concepts. Now we're going to be looking at actually what is required and give you some guidelines as to what you need to be thinking about in your business. So please, if you're a pharmacy owner or manage a pharmacy, take out your pen and paper. So the Information Commissioner, once you would have paid your registration fee, you are required to submit her some very specific information. So the first thing she wants to know is an idea of your processing activities. So what are processing activities? She wants you to break down and identify the data item categories that you process. She wants you to identify the data subject categories that you process. She wants you to tell her what are the general controls you have in place. In addition to that, she wants to know who you share this information with, where you share this information, and what are the lawful bases. So we're going to very quickly go through some of these very specific granular. So for other listeners that don't own a pharmacy or not in the pharmacy business, you could still learn by extension. On the other shows, we'll be dealing with the other high priority industries. So what are data item categories? That's the first thing that you need to inform the Information Commissioner about. If you are in the pharmacy business, more than likely you'd be collecting things like names, employment details, ID numbers, biometric data, addresses, online identifiers, financial information, and physical or mental health or conditions. Those are some examples of unique data item categories that most pharmacies, if not all pharmacies, would collect. So when we're thinking about data subject categories, she's simply inviting you to think about all the different stakeholders you serve. You have employees, you have customers, you have more often than not interns that would fall into a student category, and then you'd have persons applying for jobs, applicants. So those are three different data subject categories that you can be thinking about specifically. And yes, guys, we are getting very technical. That's why I invited you to take out your pen and paper, because this is information that you can use to actually complete your registration particulars if you're in the pharmacy business. So who might you be sharing data with? When you are taking on an intern, you would be sharing information with, for example, educational institution, such as a university. it is highly likely that you'd be sharing information with other entities in the insurance industry. That's a must. And then another unique third party that you'd share information with is in the healthcare industry. Note that you would be sharing personal data with a lot of other third parties, but for the registration particulars at this stage, it is important that you just identify your top 2 or top 3 entities that you share personal data with. Then you want to ask yourself, what is the lawful basis for processing this information, any at all? And when we speak about processing, that would have what we would have identified. So what are those lawful bases? The pharmacy industry is governed by legislation. It's highly regulated. So some of the processing would be for a legal obligation. When a customer goes to you and purchases a service or product from you, that would give rise to there being a contractual necessity for processing that information. And then as a business, you would have specific legitimate interest in processing that information. And that would represent the final element that the Information Commissioner wants from you in terms of what is the lawful basis. So these different elements that we just went through more than likely would be relevant to most pharmacies. There are some administrative issues or questions or details that Information Commissioner would also like to know in terms of what is your trade name, what is your registered name, where is your principal place of business, and other such administrative issues that you'd need to know. As an entity that processes large amount of personal data, but more importantly, sensitive personal data, you also have to, when registering or upon registering, declare who your data protection officer is. So you do need to find a solution. The Information Commissioner is mindful that you may not have an opportunity to appoint one right away, but you do need to identify someone who owns that responsibility before you can formalize that DPO office. Again, the services of a DPO can be outsourced, and there are affordable solutions that could help you with that. You also need to be able to identify the number of data subjects or the number of processes that you have within your organization. You have to drill down into what type of sensitive personal data. If you're a pharmacy, more than likely you'll be collecting biometric data and information in relation to person's physical or mental health condition. Then, why are you processing this information? You'll be processing this information for personal payment purposes, for research and development, human resource management, and for the purposes of selling products to data subjects. So today we delve deeply into some details, but these are the types of details that the Information Commissioner requires, and time is now upon us. We have already gotten 3 extensions. The deadline for entities in the health industry is August 31. To help pharmacists or pharmacist owners along that process, we will be having a one-day workshop to get this job done. Chantal, when are we looking to have that one-day workshop?
So we're looking to have this workshop on August 20th. So if you are interested, you could email us at sthompson@designprivacy.io.
One thing, other element that Information Commissioner is interested in finding out is what are the technical controls you have put in place to protect that personal data that you're processing. Even if you don't have it in place today, you need to indicate to her what technical measures you intend to have in place. That is not something that we can guide you on. Is either you have it in place or, well, we can assist by assessing the risks associated with the personal data you are processing, and that will determine what you need to have in place. But we will delve into greater detail in the workshop. But for today, this should really send you along the journey to putting you in a position to register if you're in the pharmacy industry.
All right, so if you're listening and you don't own a pharmacy, that's okay. Tell a friend who does. And if you're responsible for gathering your pharmacy's registration particulars, as Chuck mentioned, Design Privacy has something for you. We'll be hosting the workshop on August 20th. So if you are interested, email them at sthompson@designprivacy.io. Join us on our next episode as we discuss the administrative information that is required for all sectors. For more information on how to gather your registration particulars or how Design Privacy can get this done for you, email us at info@designprivacy.io. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at design_privacy and also connect with us on LinkedIn at Design Privacy. Stay informed and stay secure.
Data Protection Matters was brought to you by Design Privacy. We help you comply and build trust.
A Healthier You is brought to you by Express Fitness, your goal or mission, and Horton's Pharmacy, a family tradition of dispensing and caring for 100 years.
8:38 on the clock, and we are into A Healthier You now because Jamaica AIDS Support for Life, JASL, has launched the One Life, One Health project aimed at raising awareness about epidemic-prone infectious diseases and to promote positive social norms for better health outcomes in Jamaica. The project is being implemented using a blended approach and will target urban and rural areas based on risk factors, population density, and education levels. For more, we're joined by project coordinator at Jamaica AIDS Support for Life, JASL, Nicola Siblis McLeod. Nicola, good morning. Hello. Oh, she's not here yet. All right, so we are waiting for her. And today is how many days left in the month? 11. Next week we're going to be deep in back to school conversations, and a lot of people still have their lives disjointed because of burial, and you know that there are many hard luck stories now about getting ready for back to school from the perspective of parents, guardians, and I'm feeling at this time for the children, Cherry Tree Lane, and those who are providing counseling services and other support to them at this time, because make no mistake about it, you know, a little run to the shop, Sunday afternoon stroll, you know, as a child you put on your good clothes and you walk out, you go up the road to go buy ice cream or, you know, run up and down with your friends. That changes now, you know, hopefully it doesn't change forever, but has to be a shock to the system. And teachers, resource personnel at the schools in and around the community gonna have their hands full just getting the children to level off in their behavior. And now is a time when school leaders speak to student leaders about the kind of support they can offer as peers to their friends who were affected directly by what happened in Cherry Tree Lane. And it's a tough time for all, no doubt. So we're not in the birthday segment yet, but I just want to make sure I don't forget this one. One came through. I'm being asked to send happy birthday greetings to Nigel Gordon Summers from his mother, Pat Gordon Summers, and the rest of the Gordon Summers family. So Nigel Gordon Summers, happy birthday to your brother. and your mother, Pat Gordon Summers, and the rest of your family are sending greetings to you. So, yeah, I passed that test. Didn't forget that one. And I have it on the table. We're still trying to make contact with Nicola Siblis McLeod from Jamaica Aid Support for Life. In the meantime, if you... Well, we have a few minutes before we go into the birthday segment. So, if there's a particular issue you want to share your thoughts on, JPS or otherwise, 630-9371, 630-9372, 630-9373, 9374, or 618-8255. You can give us a call in this time that we have left, yeah? Give us a call and we can talk about those issues. So this matter continues to dominate the conversation across social media just the same. People still not accepting that their bills for this cycle are so high and not accepting at all the explanation, the rationale given by the Jamaica Public Service Company. There's an explanation detailed that they have to provide to the Energy Minister by September 6th. And the JPS has, from now, 17 more days to produce that report. Cleveland is online. Good morning, Cleveland.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
And Tana, morning.
Yeah, Tana just slipped out. She'll be back in. Mm-hmm.
So what you're telling me now? The public service did deliberately misleading to think something is different here than what is the real thing.
Which part of the story?
If the government do what they have to do, and they themselves not following what the government do, what's happening? Why? Why is it not happening that way, sir?
You know what would have been funny, Cleveland, if it is that they'd apply for the SCT to be reduced, and the government said no, and then that resulted in these exorbitant. That never happened. They asked, and they were. In fact, let me just look back on it, because just to show you how quickly the administration moved, the JPS wrote to the minister on July 1. On July 12, they got an answer to say, yes, go forward.
Yes.
And by the same day, July 12, the ministry, the financial secretary, Darlene Morrison, she wrote to the commissioner of customs, said, look, get this thing active and going for JPS because they have some challenges, so we are approving this under the GCT Act, so forth, so forth. So there were 11 days between the JPS asking for this to be applied and the government complying.
So I wonder if somebody there trying to set up the government against the people.
Well, I don't think so.
Against the government.
I don't
when I
think
hear
so.
that, we get but they talk about
I know
how the government is uncaring.
No, I don't think so. I think yesterday, I mean, you've been a man listening to radio and following media for decades. You know Winsome Callum. You know the people at J. You don't associate dishonesty with that lady. So I think it was a mistake, though. I think it was a mistake. I don't think it was deliberate. But it's so tell me, Cleveland, again, the way that I explained this morning that the estimated bills are calculated, you knew it was like that?
No.
There you go.
I don't understand even what you're saying about it.
All right. So let me go again. You know that your bill has an amount on it, a figure on it for how much power you consume in the billing cycle.
Yes.
So I'm saying, suppose we're in August, right?
Mm-hmm.
So think about your July, June, May bill. Yeah? So we thought that an estimated bill in August would mean that if your May bill was 10,000, your June bill was 11,000, and your July bill was 12,000. And you take those three of them and the average of those three. But I'm saying, no, it's the consumption.
Yes.
And then the consumption figure that you get when you average those 3 months is then multiplied to the current fuel charge. That's where you get the estimated bill. Some people pretending as if they knew all along, when most of us did not know that was how it was calculated. Because when you hear the average of something, you are not going into the detail to pick out one factor to say it's an average of that factor. There you go. Right, and that's all I was saying. But I don't think they're trying to set up. I just think they just bungled the whole thing.
There's some way you hear other people saying, look at where still, that they're trying their best to blame the government when they're not supposed to be blamed.
Well, it bungled badly, as I said, and when bungling happened, then people try to speak to save them skin.
And some of those who try to get themselves out for a long time. How much years now them sign off some of these things, and it's still there in the system. The government must look back to all of these plans that is there.
Yeah. Yeah, the fact of the matter is that they have said that they're going to look at the legislation.
Yes, sir, it need to.
And make some changes, yeah?
Okay.
Yeah, man. 8:46, birthday time now.
A Healthier You was brought to you by Express Fitness, your goal or mission, and Horton's Pharmacy, a family tradition of dispensing and caring for 100 years.
You're listening to Nationwide 90 FM. The time is
8:46.
The Birthday Club is brought to you by Popeye's Wings. Try the 6-piece combo today for only $1,395. Wing the alarm!
Sometimes I wonder how I'd ever make it through this world without having you. I just wouldn't have a clue. 'Cause sometimes it seems like this world's closing in on me, and there's no way of breaking free. And then I see you reach for me. Sometimes I wanna give up, wanna give in, I wanna quit the fight. And then I see you, baby, and everything's alright. Everything's alright. When I see you smile, I can face the world. Oh, you know I can do anything. When I see you smile, see a ray of light. Oh, see it shining right through the rain. When I see you smile, baby, when I see you smile at me. Oh yeah, baby, there's nothing.
Baby, I don't know my lady. I don't know, see, baby. Yeah. Sometimes I wonder I'll never make it to this world without having you. I just don't have a clue. And sometimes it seems that this world closing ahead of me, and there's no way of breaking free. And then I see you reach for me. Sometimes I wanna give up, I wanna give in, I wanna quit the fight. And then I see you, baby, and everything's alright. And everything's alright. When I see you smile, I can face the world. Oh, you know I can do anything. When I see you smile, I see your rings of life. Oh, I see you shining right through the way now. When I see you smile, oh girl, baby, when I see you smile at me. Oh, baby, I don't know my lady. I don't know, see, baby. Yeah, baby, sometimes I wonder I'll never make it to this world without having you. I just don't have a clue. And sometimes it seems that this world closing ahead of me, and there's no way of breaking free. And then
Listeners. It's when you have skill, you have to believe in your skill. Oh, no, so Mr. King, full of skill. Well, Mr. King played the bad English, When I See You Smile, the original When I See You Smile. I challenged him to play the singing suite version. And the man said, boy, I don't think it can mix. Mr. King, are you there, Mr. King? You know, mix it. And the man mix it perfectly. Donna, it's not water and island, you know. It's water and syrup. It mix.
It really mix.
Oh my God. The original bad Donna, but this badderer.
Yeah.
This badderer.
I agree.
Baby, when I see you smile. He was what? He was like 12. I think he was 12 when he did this. You know? Yeah,
really?
Man. Yeah, man. You hear the youth in his voice?
What, not 12?
Yeah, man, I think he was 12. Yeah.
There's nothing in this world
Yeah, mix it again. You might not mix it. No, you can't. No, it's a morning program. It's a king. You can't play that.
Can't play the other songs. But it's that time when we tell some of our friends happy birthday and happy anniversary. Happy birthday to our friends on Facebook, Tina Justina, Teresha Campbell, Elizabeth McCullough. Happy birthday as well to Mish Brown Sugar, Kim Henry. Happy birthday as well to Shireen McLean, Brittany Nini Brooks. It's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Hope you guys have an amazing one. And over on the YouTube chat.
Before you do that, Petal has delivered a box of mangoes to Nationwide 90 FM. And although Petal never follow me instructions, I broke no war Petal. Thank you very much on behalf of the whole team for the mangoes.
You tell Petal put more in your bag?
No, I tell Petal to deliver the box to me and I will do the shearing. But instead, Michelle shear up the mango. You want to lick a few little mango, but Michelle give me two. Petal, well, I know you may have quarrel with Petal. Michelle give me a fight.
Should I make it stretch?
But thank you very much on behalf of the team. Look, watch Tiffany Mordecai. How
many did you get? How many did you get, Tiffany Mordecai?
She come like little girl on the book with the mango.
She laughed.
Yeah, so thank you, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you, Petal, for the mangoes. And let me repeat this one before you find the YouTube ones, Tona. Nigel Gordon Summers. Happy birthday to you, Nigel, coming from your mother, Pat Gordon Summers, and the rest of the family. They're wishing you all the very best on this morning.
The way you make me feel from deep down in my soul, I'm losing all control. Girl, I can't fight this feeling. It feels so right. Champagne and candlelight. The way you hold me tight. Girl, I can't fight this feeling. Oh, no. Woman, you're nice. Smile on your face is like you're right above me.
2 more birthdays. Herman sending happy birthday greetings to her beloved sister Winsome Carter, aka Jeanette. Happy birthday to you. Wishing you a blessed birthday. And Winsome, your sister, is saying to you, I love you. Enjoy your day. Happy birthday to you, Winsome Carter. And Alicia B is sending happy birthday greetings to her cousin Carrion. Happy birthday to you, Carrion, from your cousin Alicia. Have a great one. And 2 more. Veron Jacks Pinnock sending belated birthday greetings to daughter is this Jael Pinnock in the UK. Celebrated her 30th birthday yesterday from your father. Okay, so it's Father Linton and your mother Veron and your brother Javan. Happy birthday to you. And Monarch Ligony sending happiest of birthdays to Mr. Is this birthdays or anniversary? Because it says to Mr. and Mrs. Delroy Smith. So husband and wife born. Oh, I see what you did there now. So happiest birthday to Mr. and Mrs. Delroy Smith, who celebrated their birthdays August 16 and 18. Monarch Ligony saying, love you both. Loads, mom and dad. Okay, so happy birthday to the Smiths, celebrated on August 16 and 18. Any more birthdays? Here's another, George. Valerie Smith sending happy birthday greetings to her mom, Amy Ennis. And this is a wonderful birthday greeting because Amy is 101 years old. Yeah, man, that deserves a round of applause. Amazing.
101, mama.
Amazing. Happy birthday to you, Mrs. Ennis, 101 years old. And the greetings coming from your daughter, Audrey Chambers. And
tomorrow you must remind me to tell you the joke about Monarch Pharmacy, Ligani, tomorrow. But I have to tell you on air. It's a safer air joke. But you must remind me to tell you. It's a, yeah, it's...
I mean, hold my marbles,
Yeah, no, man. It's a good one, man. It's a good one. Don't forget it, remind me.
Is it the birthday of the MP for Southeast St. Anne? I see the People's Choice JA sending happy birthday greetings to Lisa Hannah.
Oh, for real?
Check it's her birthday. Let's see.
The Google girl around the
yeah, right, Nora.
Google everything. Nora, where your father's first name?
MP Lisa Hannah's birthday. So we can wish her a special one. Because I see people here in the chat
She
saying
said
it
yes.
is. It is. So happy birthday to the Member of Parliament for Southeast, St. Anne. Lisa. Happy birthday to you, Lisa Hannah. Hope you have an amazing one. And people in our chat are also wishing you happy birthday. We have a greeting here from the People's Choice JA. So happy birthday to you. And Delayed is sending happy birthday greetings to Tommy Thompson. Happy birthday to you, Tommy Thompson. And Sylvia Martin sending happy birthday greetings to her nephew, Nickane. Happy birthday to ya. Hope you have an amazing one.
Is Tommy Thompson Bright Light?
It didn't say.
Well,
It just said Tommy Thompson.
all right.
Yeah.
All right. It's not a usual name, Tommy Thompson.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
So those are all the birthdays. Happy birthday to you if you're celebrating your birthday today. And if you're celebrating your anniversary, happy anniversary to you as well.
The Birthday Club was brought to you by Popeye's Wings. Try the 6-piece combo today for only $1,395. Wing the alarm!
Singing songs of joy on this lovely day. Oh, yeah.
That's about it for the show. Thank you so much for tuning in to Nationwide this morning. Thanks so much to our technical operator and the musical maestro, one Jermaine, never two, Jermaine King. Thanks as well to our super producer, Michelle McCrae Smith, and our super editor, Kimon Thompson, in the newsroom. Up next, the Consumer Hour with Norgay Banton, and at 10, Cliff Hughes Online. I'm Tawna Thomas.
And I'm Aloysius Lilius.
Good morning.
Nature said to be three little birds singing a song, convincing me it was so.
You've just heard Nationwide this morning on Nationwide 90 FM.
Anyone come to see me this day, tell them I'll be gone for the day. I'll be down by the river, waiting for the good Lord to pass my way.
Fearless and fair. Nationwide 90 FM.
Picture this, a place of worship transformed into a wellness wonderland. That's exactly what happened at a recent health